You never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you might get what you ask for, so you better be sure it's what you want. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Funny thing about love, when it comes and goes, you never know. So you gotta keep your heart exposed, and you can be sure there's no cause and no cure. And when it wants you, all it'll come and find you. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you might get what you ask for, so you better be sure.
What's up? Welcome to today's stream. It is August the 19th. It's been over a week, I think, since my last stream. I ended up getting sick on last Saturday. Not 100% yet, but well enough to start the stream back up. I don't really have that strong of an agenda today, but I will be having a guest join me in a few moments, or a few minutes, I should say. I'm not really sure what we're going to do or talk about, but you know, I prefer it like that, to be honest. You know, just hang out, see what happens. I do have a couple of projects that I have in mind for the next few weeks, mostly to do with getting stuff set up, my own infrastructure set up, so that I can get streaming details and analytics in my Slack. At the moment, I have noticed that it's kind of a hassle to get to all of the analytics and all of the different, get into each stream and then being able to edit it and stuff. And I want to be able to do that more easily and be able to kind of track all of my streams within Slack and to be able to edit things from within Slack. So I've already started working on this project. It's a Slack application that it doesn't do it yet, but actually what I can do is maybe I'll share my screen. Let me first pull up my notes and see if I wrote it down anywhere. Obviously I probably didn't, knowing me. All right, let's go here. Okay, all right, let's share the screen now. All right, so this was from my last devlog, which was a week ago. I haven't made any progress. I haven't really been on my computer at all for a week. I've been laying over there on my couch, just so that I don't have to lay in my bed all day. But yeah, I've already kicked off the new project. That's already done. I didn't do a domain, but I mean, technically there is one. This iOS app, technically, it does what I set out to do, which was it shows me all of my PRs, like my latest PRs for every repo. And while I could continue to work on that, it would literally be me just adding new features or new, feature scope. So just figuring out stuff to add just to make it more. I don't know if I want to continue to do that because I've already finished what I set out to do. I have this goal to create this presentation on GitHub. I've already started that, in fact. That's well on its way. Let's see, Delvin on OS. Okay, this is something different, never mind. Repo templates, okay. I think this was for telling, or at least showing you all how to use GitHub more effectively for things. Yo, what's up, AR Aries? Let me see what you got to say. When I finish, I'm gonna put it on the chat. All right, so when I finish my associates, I'll be going to City College in New York for my bachelor's. It's walking distance from where I live at. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I've been sick. I actually just took a Zicam. I probably should also I'll probably end up having to go and take medicine in a bit, because, yeah. How are you doing? And welcome to today's stream. I don't know how long you've been here, but I was just saying how I don't actually have an agenda today other than just a stream. Although I will have a guest coming on shortly. He's really cool, actually. I like him a lot. And yeah. So while we wait, I suppose I'll go ahead and do a little bit of catch up. I am also remembering where I am. Oh yeah, and I guess y'all are going to see the type of content I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start doing stuff about men, because that's what I am. And yeah, all right, let's do not Gmail, GitHub, I think. Yeah, GitHub. Okay, yeah, all right. Let's turn up the volume on my mic a little bit. It's hard for me to talk really loud today. Yo, what's up, Lost Function? I'm here. Man, real talk. Wait, hold on. Wait, Lost Function. Is this the... Oh, okay. All right, never. Okay. I was about to comment. I was like, man, that's a dope name, Lost Function. That is a dope name. It's not lost on me what lost function means. at least in the context of machine learning and AI. Let me send you a Zoom link. Doing good, just about to start classes again this week. Oh yeah, school is about to start. Oh yeah. Well, what's your course load like this year? What classes are you taking? And are you excited? Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to pull up my soundboard. Let me pull up my soundboard. Let me give you some applause. Actually, no, we're not gonna do applause. We're gonna get into sounds a little bit later, but let me get this link up. Pratik, I'm going to send it through text. I'm just gonna text it to you. Okay, we should be good there. Let me close out all of that other stuff. Yo, what's up? Give me a second.
Hey.
Give me a second, Pratik. I have to we're gonna have to do more than one thing so that I can get you in. Basically, it's the same thing that we did last time. So I have to yeah. So we'll use
Don't
Zoom.
quiz me on it though.
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to. It's give me a second. I'm like it's been so long, feels like I've forgotten how to do everything.
It's all good.
Here, I'll turn on my video as well, and we don't need that on that screen. Okay, so let's throw on interview mode right quick. All right, so I'm gonna send you a link to this other thing. What I would like you to do is mute the audio in there, and we're only using it for video so that we can get you in the stream.
Okay.
And those of you who are watching, if things are a little bit off, please let me know. I can't monitor like 3 things at once. Is really difficult. All right, so let me assign you to as guest 1, and let's go to me and a guest. All right. So I'm gonna ask you to speak right quick just to make sure that we can hear you. Okay.
Testing. Hello?
All right. I'm gonna pause my music first, and then we'll try it again.
So I got Zoom on. I have Ecamm muted.
You're good.
Good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That went off without a hitch. That was actually really good. I remember the first few times I've done this with people, it took a while, but it seems like I'm a pro at this now. I'm an expert. How are you doing?
Doing well. I haven't been in this seat in like over a month, so it's good to be back.
Where have you been?
It was also fun being away. I was in Manhattan for like a month. One of my friends was out of town, so I just took over her sublet. So it was fun. It was nice to be in the city again.
Wait, I thought you lived in New York. Is that?
I live in New Jersey.
Okay. All right.
So not too far, but I used to live for like 7 years in Manhattan before the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just wanted to go back to see what it was like, see what you were missing.
Yeah. But it was a good time.
I'm glad you're back home. I haven't been away from my desk for that long, but it's been a week where it's just like I haven't really been on the computer. Everything I've been doing has been from my couch, laying down on my phone.
That's rough, man. I hope you're feeling better.
I'm feeling better, but I'm not 100% yet. And
yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, so
I can still see a little bit on you, like I think.
Well, yeah, like I took a little bit of medicine just beforehand, just so that I could hopefully get through this.
Yeah, but you look good, and let me know if you need to like end it early or anything like that. I'm pretty flexible today.
Oh no. We're like I have a new goal to to like try to make sure these streams don't go over 2 hours too much, maybe 2.5 hours, and that's mostly it's more of a strategic decision. You can increase your retention simply by having shorter videos, because you know it's measured as the amount of time watched for the total duration of the video. So let's say I have a 4-hour stream and someone watches for 20 minutes, the retention is low. However, if I had like let's just say a 2-hour stream and they watch the same amount, the retention is higher, just by mere virtue of the video shorter.
Yeah, make the denominator smaller and help see with the algorithm, it seems like.
Yes. And I'm noticing that, you know, I was getting traction, and man, like this last week, I was very disappointed because like when you see numbers going up, you're like, all right, I want to keep going. And I had thought that I would be in the 700 to 800s of views per 28 days, which, you know, it's not a lot, but when I first started on YouTube in January this year, it was, you know, in the 3s, 3, 4, maybe 5 for a month. And it's taken a while to get to where we are now.
That's pretty good. So what have you been up to? What kind of stuff have you been streaming? I saw a little bit of you going through your notes and showing like what you've been, what you're planning and stuff like that too. Yeah.
So I was working on this app. I called it Git Stalker, or Get Stalked, I think is what it is. And the premise was, it was mostly just for me. I wanted to see what was the last PR I did for every repo. I have a lot of repos that I own as well as contribute to. And you know, when you get into the hundreds of repos, sometimes it's nice to see, all right, well, what's the last repo I opened? Maybe I forgot about it and I need to go and do something, or maybe I just want to see what was the last thing I did for a particular project. So I ended up building honestly it's done, an iOS app that uses the GitHub GraphQL API, and it goes off and gets all the data. And I was adding another feature where it would produce a score based off of, I don't know, a bunch of other attributes. Honestly, there's a project where if you put in your username, it'll give you like a score of what your I don't know, your GitHub profile is like.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to add that, and I was trying to render it in SVG because that's what that service generates. And man, dealing with that in iOS, so it's like I could continue to do that, but I was saying earlier how that was just like, it was mostly feature scope, whereas like I've already solved the problem that I wanted to do, and now I'm just like, all right, what else can I do? And,
I mean, I'm glad you have the awareness to catch on to that, because stuff like that derails me so much. So I heard.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say it's a supreme awareness, but I'm gonna be honest. These streams help. Right, so I actually do watch my own content. I'm one of those people. So it's like I will watch my own stuff, and it's like while I'm going through it, like it's almost like I'm a different person after the fact. So I get to look at it very differently and be like, all right, I'm rambling here. Maybe I don't need to do that, or I'm searching for problems here. Maybe I don't need to do that. Or while I'm watching, I may come up with other ideas based off of what I'm watching, and I'll just note that down as potential areas to explore.
Yeah, it's almost like rubber ducking when you're like talking out loud with your problem. And I find that like with the stream, like let's say you have a 2-hour time block, that's like some accountability, because you're like, after the 2 hours, you could be like, what did I even get done in that stream? You know, like it's like a good reflection point. I've actually been working on something maybe somewhat similar. Working on like something more meta for how I approach projects and working on things. So I set up a website. It's called 20hourslater.com, and it's like 20 as the number.
You mind if I pull it up?
You can, go for it.
All right.
It's under construction. I threw it together, but the idea here is I love learning all these new things, so I want to like blog about it.
What is it called?
20hourslater.com.
Like the number 20 or spelled 20?
The number 20.
Okay.
I bought both domain names, but for now it's just...
Did you do the redirect yet?
Not yet. That's on my to-do list.
Well, maybe we can do that today. on the stream?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. I pick a thing to learn, do it for 20 hours, and I share all my notes for free. I really like this. This is actually kind of cool. This is cool.
Yeah. So like, first of all, like you said, like just having like a time block, like 20 hours gives me accountability. Like, and I'm always curious. I'm like, all right, if Will just dedicated himself to iOS for 20 hours, where does he come out at the end of it? I'm kind of curious to follow along with your journey. 20 hours is like a good enough time where it's like enough for you to really get into the weeds, but it's not like consuming your life completely. And then there's a book called The First 20 Hours by someone I like was reading like the
first
summary about it.
Do you have that link too?
It's at the bottom. It's not a link, but you can see the author's name at the bottom. I was like, I'd like to thank the following authors at the bottom of the page.
Okay. Show your work. All right. So this is something that I've never read this book, but I remember when I was in school, it was a very big deal for us to show our work. And at least I had a teacher who was, I used to call him anal about it, but now that I reflect back, I appreciate it, where he's like, it doesn't matter what the real answer is, or like what it's like, it's showing your work is the process of showing your thought. And now I've kind of turned that into my own philosophy of like writing is evidence of thought, where a lot of people will say, oh, I'm thinking about X or Y or Z, but then they don't show anything. So it's just like, well, like you have these ephemeral thoughts that don't really exist. They don't exist until you manifest them into the real world via writing, or if you record it, audio or video or something like that. And I like that. Show your work. That's cool. I'm gonna add this book here to my list of things. But yes, go on. Sure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you here.
No, you're good. I'm glad that's like resonating. And I think you do some of the show your work stuff pretty well, like with your streams. I think that's like a great step in the right direction. And for the first 20 hours, you could just also like look it up on YouTube. There's like good summaries for it. I haven't read the book yet, but I've listened through a couple of summaries and it was pretty valuable.
Oh, it's okay. All right, let me add this to my watch later.
Yeah, that's the guy in a TED Talk. I forget which one I looked at, but there's like a couple good summaries there.
Okay. Yeah, this is dope. I like the fact that you've built out this website, and these are going to be the things that you're currently, I guess you're interested in, and it sounds like you're sharing your notes. Have you finished? It sounds like you finished one. It looks like you finished one. Or
this is all a mock-up.
Oh, it's mock-up. Okay.
Yeah, I threw the website together earlier this week, and right now I'm actually focusing on the Git part. So I actually like really just want to learn Git at a deep level, how it works.
Oh.
And you used to work at GitHub, right?
Yeah, I know a little bit about Git.
So I think you probably know a thing or two there. But there's also a group at Recurse. They're doing a book called Building Git, where you kind of build Git from scratch. So I'm like, I'm joining in on those as well. But I'm gonna just spend 20 hours like making my own Git and like really learning at a fundamental level how the tool works. I almost want to have it be like I could make it from scratch because it's solving my own problems, and it would end up, the version control system would end up just becoming like Git. Like I want to understand all the design decisions and everything that went into it.
I can't guarantee that I can do this, but I'll reach out to some of my former coworkers. There are two in particular who were very early GitHub employees, and like they were explaining to me how pull requests like work. And I don't mean just like the what do you do on GitHub. I mean like how does it actually work? And they gave me a few deep dives, and the first time it was just like it's just like it's unimaginable like how much shit that they know. It's just like I don't understand. It's like it's so much that I don't know. It's just like it takes a leap of faith almost, where it's like, oh wow, this is actually really cool. One of the biggest takeaway that I had from Git, and what makes it really cool, is that it's a content addressable system.
Yes.
And it's just like when you recognize that, and it's like, wow, that's a key insight that Linus had, was to make everything
Yeah.
content addressable.
Yeah, like using the SHAs for the names, I think it lets you move files around and you don't have to like keep track of them. Like just by virtue of their content, you can you get that ID for the file. Makes like renames a lot easier too. And even like, say you have like a whole folder of files and you nest it like 5 folders deep now, you didn't introduce that much more memory because you're keeping track of the tree too as the SHA, like the content addressable part. So
I'm
yeah,
curious,
and then the other,
did you know
the other
this?
really interesting, sorry, go ahead.
Did you know that the first 2 characters of that SHA is really important?
It's in the folder name, right?
It's
like
something
if you
like
look in
that.
the .git folder,
Yeah, it's something like that. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you too much.
Yeah, no, that's true. And then the other interesting part is it's a distributed database too.
Right.
So like basically that .git folder has all these like objects that are representing your working directory and also like all historical stuff. And you can kind of share that with other people. So when we're working on a common code base, we're kind of merging all the objects and then the trees. So it's like a distributed database, and it's also like a directed acyclic graph, like a tree.
Well, it is exactly a DAG.
Exactly. So it's like so many cool computer science concepts all kind of thrown together. That's why I was like, it would be fun to kind of build it from scratch because you get to touch on all these things, but you're building something practical at the end of it that like I could actually use. So I started from like Linus's first README announcing Git, and I was like reading through that, kind of taking the historical approach too, and seeing like how he presented it.
I think maybe we should, I don't know, we could play a little bit with Git and just share some things. By the way, we have a question. I'm going to pop it up on the screen. I don't think you will see it unless you're watching the stream, but it says, what does he do? Is he a developer too? And also, wait a minute, there's another thing, I'm sorry. So let me start from the beginning, AR. So I have to retake pre-cal, take bio 220. All right, computer, okay, I see. Since you took computer science, would I be able to create stuff? Oh, wait, since you took computer science, would I be able to create AI stuff with it or not? Yeah, you can take, you don't even need to do computer science to do AI, to be honest. But it's a lot of math, like linear algebra, really. It's in calculus. It's not that difficult. But yeah, back to your question. What does he do? And is he a developer as well? I'll let you answer for yourself.
Great questions. I am a developer. I started off as full stack, then I focused more on front end. And my background in school, I did computer engineering and electrical engineering.
Dual major.
Dual majors, like a dual degree. I don't think it was any more classes, but it was just the curriculum was like a hybrid.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is some overlap in computer engineering and EE. Like,
yeah, we kind of went from the bottom up, like learning transistors, resistors, all that, and then building up to like the architecture, operating systems, etc.
Okay, all right. We did the opposite. So I started out as engineering. Hey, what's up, Mana? See, how are you? Welcome to the stream. I started out as engineering because I wanted to do computer engineering, but my mom told me last minute that if I went to the school that if I went to Rice here in Houston, that I would have to live at home. So I applied to Trinity, which is Rice's sister school. And I didn't know anything about their majors or whatever. And when I got there, I was like, I'm going to do computer engineering. They didn't have computer engineering. So I was like, I'll do electrical engineering. But even then, you can't do that. They have engineering science up until you get into your specialization. So I started out with engineering science and computer science because I was like, I'll make my own computer engineering. And I ended up.
Isn't that crazy? Like how they didn't have computer engineering, and like in 20 years, how it's like eaten over the world, and now it's like the hottest major.
I can't say it's crazy because Trinity is a very small school, and it's a small school, and
got it.
I don't know. I will say I can't speak too much about it because I did drop out of engineering. I'm an engineering dropout. I was like, no, know what? I'm like, computer science is easy for me at least, and I'm like, I'm gonna do computer science. I was double majoring and double minoring, and I quickly realized that not at Trinity, you're not gonna do that.
Gotcha.
You have to be a special kind of person to do that, and I'm not that special.
That's hard. Yeah. Even at my school, for my engineering major, I remember like the first seminar thing we had, they were like, look to your right, look to your left. One of these people is not going to make it to the end. Yeah. Had like
true.
a 33% dropout rate. So it was very high. It's like the highest one.
Well, I'll say this. So when I started my program, it was, oh wait, you're broken. How's your internet, Pratik? Are you good?
I'm broken. I'm still not wired in, but it looks good on my end. Like I can hear you.
Okay. All right. You were freezing up on me for a little bit. I was just making sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying that when I started my CS, at least, I think we had like 87 students in my class, which is not a lot, but you got to keep in mind I went to a small school. When I graduated, I was one of 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of 12.
Yeah. And it was almost like half every year. Almost. I think the first year was like the majority dropped out, and then after that was like 40%, 30%, and then it's left with us, just us.
Oh man.
We got a comment. I'm electronics engineering too by degree. Now I'm a software man. So it seems like there are a lot of people who come into this software game not by computer science. So if you're watching this and you're young and you're like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to do computer science, you don't really have to. I've worked with folks who don't even have technical degrees, and they are programmers, because it turns out you don't need a degree to do this.
Electron hole pairs in semiconductors. Oh wow. I wonder if Mano knows anything about like that new semiconductor news that was like buzzing around lately.
The who? Their semiconductor news?
Yeah, apparently like they had a groundbreaking discovery.
Oh, the LK99, the superconductor.
LK99.
Yeah. LK99 superconductor in South Korea, I think.
Yeah. Do you fully understand like the implications of that? I wasn't sure. I wasn't really tracking it. But.
So my understanding is that as actually, I don't know if I can give a great explanation, but my understanding is that because there is still resistance in like copper and all that and wire, like there's only so much you can do before like it heats up and you can't really do the same things. I think that with superconductors, it allows you to get max speed or something like that. But where did my chat window go? Someone was, maybe Mono NZ, maybe he knows. Do you know?
So yeah, it seems like at room temperature, it was able to behave like a superconductor.
Right.
Whereas with other materials, it has to not be at room temperature.
Here, let me log in right quick. Maybe there will be some interesting information here. Oh my gosh, seriously? Oh my gosh. Oh. Give me a second. I have to check my email now. It said to send it to Will. I don't know. I'm not getting it. Maybe I go to all. Sorry, I had to go. I'm gonna just check my email on my computer. It's a little bit easier for me. What is this? TechCrunch. Okay. Oh, wait, what? That's interesting. I guess okay. I have a bill for this on my credit card, which is why I'm like, I should have this, but maybe, I don't know. Well, I guess we're not going to be able to read this, unfortunately. I don't want to pay for this on stream, just for reasons.
What news website is this?
This is TechCrunch.
TechCrunch.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe my subscription lapsed. I'm not really sure. But maybe we'll just go somewhere else and see if we can get an answer as to why this is important.
Yeah, I'm on a. What was I just looking at? I think it was a CNET
CNET.
article.
Oh, this one.
But apparently, like the research team
Turns out to
put
not
up a
be
video.
accurate or something. That was the China. All right, so the video that we saw, that was actually from China, a Chinese student, and he
The levitating thing.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
and he admitted. I don't know if he admitted on his own, but he admitted that it was fake. But the apology looked very similar to other types of apologies that are coerced from that particular.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I buy that. I still think the pyramids were made with some crazy technology that we lost, and they were levitating those huge limestone things. I don't know what the pyramids are.
You
made
know
of,
what? So I do have, man, this is going to sound, we're going to get into conspiracy land, but I find it a little bit strange how almost all of the amazing technological feats that occurred in Africa are downplayed. And when I look at who's downplaying it, where it's like, oh, like we did all of these things, and it's like there was a lot of stuff happening in Africa and the Middle East as well as in Asia, but we have this new Eurocentric culture where it's just like, no, we did that. It's like, I don't know, like for instance, there is this thing like baths, for instance, where it's like, you know, a lot of people look at Africans as dirty or whatever, and it's just like, you realize that the culture of bathing came from Africa. Like,
oh wow,
there was a reason why there was a bubonic plague in Europe and not anywhere else. It's like, you know, the Moors brought that over, and I'm sure you know about the Moors and where they came from. Like, there's a lot of, you know, things that we got from other cultures. Algebra is one of them. Even the name algebra it's not a European you know, invention.
Yeah,
but,
algebra, it's like a Islamic name. Yeah.
Oh, you're
Even algorithm, like
again.
a lot of those words, they're like loan words.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if it's because I have Zoom also going. Is there a way to like turn off video on Zoom?
Yeah, you just stop video. But then actually, yeah, I can see you. Yeah, just stop video. And
that might be the move. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
that should help my bandwidth a little bit.
Yeah, and so I plug in. Did you start plugging in yet?
I don't. It's not super easy for me where I have my desk set up, but I might have to like just take a huge wire and attach it.
That's what I do. I have a 50-foot Ethernet cable.
I think you were telling me like from your computer, from your TV area, right?
Yeah,
coming through. Yeah, that might be the move.
Yeah. So I did it because initially I was trying to use Wi-Fi. I was like, oh, this Mac Studio has like the best Wi-Fi, and I have like a really decent Wi-Fi router. And I was like, I shouldn't need to do it. Bandwidth, I'm not limited on bandwidth, but it turns out that latency as well as like dropped packets happen a lot on Wi-Fi. And when you're browsing the web or watching videos, it doesn't really matter that much. But when you're doing anything live, it makes it very tough. And I noticed that when I started using Ethernet, all of my issues went away. I never have like the typical issues that you experience using Zoom or on streams or any of that.
How long is your wire that you're plugging into?
50 feet.
50 feet. Is there any considerations you have to take when it's like a wire that long?
No. I think you can run, I think Cat 5, it can be over like 100 meters or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
before
It's
you
like a
need a
football
repeater
field.
or something. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. Good to know.
And yeah, it's useful, especially if you're going to start doing this content stuff more often. In my case, I have a NAS, and like all of my storage is over there now.
You set it up?
Yeah, I set it up.
Did you finally set up the new one?
Yes, I set it up. I also upgraded the NIC to the 10G, to the 10 gigabit. So now like I don't have to like, it's as if it's plugged in.
Wow.
Like directly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I need to buy more hard drives, so I have to buy like 3 more 12 terabyte hard drives. I'm out of space on my 2 12-byte hard drives already.
Yeah. I got really into the home lab stuff this past week, and I was like looking into setting up and self-hosting different things. that's another rabbit hole to go down. But I kind of like the idea of like owning your own software, and but then you end up becoming a DevOps engineer. And
What's wrong with that though? Like, I mean,
no, I love it. I love it. But it's just like another thing, another responsibility, right? Like I'm on call for my own stuff, and it's just more stuff on your plate.
yeah, I feel that. But I will also say that at least for us, like if you're trying to get to a certain like place in life, it tends to come like you get it via responsibility, and
Yeah.
you know, the more of it you assume, the more you are rewarded. Although it does come, you know, it's the cost that you have more stuff to do. By the way, we have a question. Oh, and we also have some comments. Seems so cool. All right, I hope it. All right, let's pull up the question. What are the challenges you guys face with being a developer? I'm going to let you answer that because I'm not a developer anymore. I'm just like, I just talk shit about development. That's what I do. I'm a commentator.
Yes. Okay, I can go first. So a caveat, I guess I'm still a developer. I still count that as my identity, but I'm on a sabbatical currently, so I'm taking some time off. But I think the challenge for me is burning out. That was probably my biggest challenge. There's always new libraries coming out. There's new technologies. There's always release notes and updates. And I think part of that's the fun part about being a software engineer is like things move fast. But I would say it's also important to like really get a good grasp of the fundamentals and have mastery over like the simple core tools that you're using, because I think those will get you like a long way. And that way you're not distracted by every new shiny technology that comes out, which I often was. And I just kind of felt like I was being pulled in many different directions all the time. And this especially happens in front end land, which I was a front end engineer for quite a bit of my career. Part of the thing that I love about front end is like the ecosystem and how easy it is just to make your own new library or new this or new that. But at the same time, it can be kind of exhausting and things break all the time. And you can read up on like NPM, node package manager, and like all the different things that like happen there where packages would break, or like one guy in Oklahoma was like holding up the whole ecosystem with his one package.
Yeah, I remember.
So yeah. So I would say for me, it's managing your, managing your burnout and managing your, how you're allocating your effort and your time and what you're getting out of it. Having that like basic accounting that you're doing is a good way to, mono left pad. Exactly.
For me, I think the most challenging thing for me was just understanding that prioritization takes precedence over like technical competence or mastery, right? One of the things that I learned very well at GitHub is that, you know, make sure you're solving the right problem, right? Like some things may feel like problems or whatever, but it's like, sure, you can solve that, but what is the impact? Is it going to actually move the needle? Because you can very quickly get into the situation where it's like you're submitting all these PRs and you're merging all this code, but like, does it matter? Does it make a difference? And I think I was forced to do this because the team that I was on was so small. I was one of 4 engineers, and one of those engineers was the engineering manager. Right, so you know we're building this desktop application. It's targeted to 2 platforms, and obviously it's using Git. It's using our GitHub stuff, and we're also like we're also using GitHub's product as a potential user, as like as an external user, but also as someone, as an employee of the company, and just maintaining that balance of we're doing this to enable these people to do these types of things, to do their work, while at the same time we're also needing to make sure that we're pushing the bar for like GitHub, like, you know, making sure that the experience is similar, but also making sure that the things that other users may use, like our APIs, are actually, you know, they actually work for them. And I don't know, it was the communication part as well, where, you know, I was really forced to like reconcile with the fact that I had put a lot of effort into being technically, I'm gonna just call it competent, but I think I'm a little bit further than competent if we're talking about average. I started to learn that, hey, you know, just knowing a bunch of technology and being able to pick up a new language or a new framework or go into any code base and be productive, sure, but that's not really the problems that, you know, that I'm there to solve. It's like talking with people, the communication aspect, which I think goes hand in hand with prioritization. Like, how do you know what to build? You have to talk about it. Well, like, who do you talk about it with? All different types of people. Maybe they work in engineering, maybe they work in product, maybe they work in marketing. Like, maybe I had to go to the data team, or maybe I had to build stuff so that we can get the data so that we can answer our own questions. It was all these things, and managing all of that was tricky as well. But I do understand that my experience as an engineer is maybe not it's probably not that common, because I was a maintainer of an open source project, right? Like, I think there's a difference where it's like you're triaging issues on top of fixing them, on top of coming up with product direction. So like, and you're, you know, you're having to interact with the community directly. So yeah, I hope that gives a decent answer for you, Mano.
Yeah, I think that's such a power combo, is like knowing computers and technology, but also knowing people and how to deliver value, because you need other people to leverage yourself. And I think I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy said, there's a big difference between working on something and working towards something.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I'm trying to really internalize. Is it's really easy for me to work on things, but it sometimes helps to zoom out and be like, where do I want to get with this? Where am I trying to get? And is this helping me get there? And sometimes it could just be learning something for fun, but I just have to be honest with myself. Like, I'm spending 10 hours learning this because I'm having fun, and that's fine.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, I really need a problem fixed, and is this helping me fix it?
Yeah, I imagine as engineers, we all probably fall into that trap sometimes. I know I do, and like, I've gotten really good at noticing it and pulling myself out of it. There was a point in my life where that was not the case, where you know, it's just like, you get into this thing, it's like, it's like you get the blinders on, and you get that tunnel vision, and you're just like doing this thing, and you forget to like look at the big picture. There's this saying, I forget what it's called, like, you can't see the forest for the trees or something like that, where it's like, if you're in the middle of the forest, like, you're not going to see and until you zoom out. And I don't know, maybe that's the difference between like a senior, junior, and staff engineer, right? It's that like their ability to zoom out and say, hey, like, at the end of the day, we're solving problems for people. And, you know, we have this business, and we have these workflows within our business, and this is how we earn our money. All these other, like, you know, technical things, sure, they may be important to someone, but like, at the end of the day, they're not that important. What I like to tell people, and it's kind of harsh, is that your users don't give a fuck about what programming language you use. They don't care about what computer like you use, or like any, they don't care. And when I talk to junior engineers, at least, they tend to put a little too much emphasis on things that don't matter, right? Like, let's say, you know, if we're making, if we're going to start a project and we can't start because we're trying to debate what technologies to use. Should we use CSS or Tailwind? Should we use JavaScript, TypeScript, Go? It's like, now I'm at a point where it's just like, fuck all that. It doesn't matter. Like, we need to get them the product in hand as soon as possible. And even if it's shitty, like, and that's something that like I learned the hard way, was Post Supply, the product that I think that's how we met with the RC thing. I started out with this project called Post Supply, and, you know, I wanted it to be perfect. Maybe not perfect, but like the quality of everything was important to me. But I had to learn that, you know what, people don't like, if it's solving their problems, it doesn't matter if it looks nice or if the code is nice, or or any of that stuff. It's just like, does it solve the problem, yes or no? And a lot of people, that's where they stop.
Totally. I'm dealing with that with that website I was just showing you earlier today too. Part of me is like, what's the smallest bit I can do just to finish it up? But then the other part of me is like, I want it to be perfect. I want to have all these like little delightful elements in it. And it's so easy to over engineer. I feel like that's the battle, is like, how do you not over engineer something and just ship real world value?
Right.
So I'm trying to like remind myself.
Well, I'm gonna say this, like, so I didn't know that this was a mock-up initially, but let's say that like the goal of a website is to convey information, right? And like, it conveys the information, right? So I know what the point of this is just by looking at it. So you didn't have to like go, I'm not saying that you did this, but like, you didn't have to go out and actually build out HTML and style a bunch of stuff. You didn't have to do any of that, because at the end of the day, it's clear what the goal of this is. And that's something that I had a little bit of trouble with trying to build my marketing website, which is, I wanted all these other things which don't really solve the problem of someone just wants to know what the hell this thing does. Like, it could literally be
true.
words
That's often
on
the biggest thing is like, can this thing talk for itself? Does someone, when they look at it, do they know what it's about? So that's a really good point. It does check off that box. I think the other thing, and I think then I'll be really happy, is the individual page. When you click through to like one of those things, I just want to have some sort of lightweight content management solution thing there, where I can just like put up my notes, and then it's pretty much done. Anything else I go from there, add on from there, is a bonus. But that's the other like the other chunk of it, the last chunk of it, I think.
Well, one thing I'll add is, and I've been doing this a lot, is that I no longer care if something's good today, because my mindset is I'm going to keep working on it for months, years, decades to come. And I've seen it happen with Post Supply, where I remember where things started out, there was nothing. And then over like 6 months, there's more stuff. And over a year, there's more stuff. 18 months. Okay, like now people are like, oh my gosh, there's all these, it's like, but it wasn't all built over time. It was just, it started off as something shitty. It started off as just like a regular ass web page. And it started off with like, I have like my own Slack stuff. I have my own infrastructure now. I can actually do a deployment from within Slack. Like, all of these things didn't exist. It was just like, over time, here's this problem. We need to be able to deploy this quicker because it takes me a day to do it. How can I get it to where like anyone can do it? I don't want, like, I shouldn't have to be here to deploy this thing. All right, let's go work towards that goal. Let's make this a solution. All right, now it's a solution. It exists. If it needs to be improved, well, that's a refinement. Like, the bulk of the work is done. I can move on to something else. Right now, it's like, all right, well, I need to, like, there are bugs that happen. Like, it'll work on my machine, and I have a lot of insight into why it's not working. But as soon as I deploy it, if something goes wrong, I have no idea. Okay, let's work towards that problem, and like, let's add some things to make sure that I have some visibility into what's happening on these other systems. Okay, that problem solved. Now I have two things, and if there's something that I need to add, it's just refinement. And it's over time, things build upon each other, and I think you get those compounded effects, right? Where you get to take advantage of your previous work. So I mean, yeah, you said you started this a week ago or whatever. You spent a few hours on it. Well, I imagine if you were to spend a few hours on this every month for the next 24 months, you'll probably get to a point that you couldn't even imagine that it would be where it is. At least that's how I feel sometimes when I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like, it's, I guess you have to experience it. You have to see it first, right? You have to see something come from nothing, build into something, and continue to go forward. Like, even with GitHub Desktop, like, oh my gosh, it's like, it makes me even more proud now when I see updates come out, even though I don't work on it anymore, right? Where it's just like, this thing here, it's continuing to get better. And I don't know, and I remember what it was before before it was released.
Right. No, that's very true. It's, like, I think we're messed up a little bit from our education system, where it's like, you write a report or something, then you hand it in and then you're done and then you get a grade on it. And it's, but that's not how, imagine if school was like throughout the course of the semester, you release updates for your paper and you get graded on that.
Well, see,
Like-
I think that's a very good point. In school, you're taught that there is a such thing as done.
Done, exactly.
Right. Where it's just like in reality, nothing around us is done. Like, I mean,
it's such a false
we get
concept.
to a point to where like it's good enough and we can use it, but done, I don't know. Like, I mean, if we were done, why do we continue to make progress? I mean, if we're done, right? Like, if I look back at cars 30 years ago, I mean, we have cars now are very different. Or let's say, the first car, we built the first car and it was done. I don't know if we would be in the same position if we were just like, done is done and we're going to move on to something else. So I like the fact that you brought that up. That was a really good point.
Yeah, it's so important to unlearn that, because it's so, I don't know why it gets taught that way in school, but yeah, I think exactly. I think it's really important to unlearn that.
Well, how did you begin to unlearn that?
And then you were, that's a great follow-up. So we both worked on software teams where there is like a release cycle. There are sprints. There's like, do you think that has helped you? There's still a notion of done. It's like, all right, are we shipping this version by the end of our sprint? Maybe there's a notion of done there.
Well,
But how do we switch to like an evolving process and not like these discrete steps?
at GitHub, we didn't have sprints, or at least not on my team. We didn't have any of that.
Okay.
It was very much, we have issues, and we may prioritize, certain issues, and we would just create PRs, where it's just like that's how we work it. There's the GitHub workflow where it's just like it's constant iteration. There is no done. It's just
Interesting. I can't process that. That's such a wild
not
concept.
even though there is no done, but there's not, at least on my team. I can't speak for all the teams at GitHub, but that we didn't have like sprints. We had like we had every quarter we wanted to release something, but even then we could release at any point. So it was this idea of like sure, we can try to chase after perfection, but we'll never get there. So it's better to just release and go from there. Release. Things are bad or whatever, we'll improve it. I mean, and that was something that it took me a little while to kind of come to grips with. Like my first PR, I'm like, man, this isn't really done. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Do you think the team still runs like that, or was that like early on because the project was so new?
I don't. Let's see. We can maybe see a little bit.
Yeah, maybe they have like a projects page on there. GitHub.
Well, you see issues galore. 9,400 closed.
That's a sign of a healthy project, to be honest.
Desktop housekeeping. Yeah, just things that are triage, things that are backlog. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Okay.
I actually know this person. He's still doing stuff. So he was an open source contributor.
Oh.
Yeah, from like, man, it's really dope to see that, like, to see the community just really get behind and start to do things and add stuff. But yeah, it seems like it's kind of the same, where it's just issues. We pick out the ones that are most important. We prioritize it and go fix it.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like someone opened up this issue cloning repo with Git in the end of the name, and that's a big deal, because like technically, when you clone a repo, it should have the .git, except a lot like we know that is Git, so we can just assume and we don't. So yeah, like someone noticed this and it was fixed. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't say because I'm not really. Like, I'm not in the Slack anymore, so I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, but I would imagine that it's probably the same process because it worked. Right? Like, it worked.
Yeah.
It's good insights.
That's fair.
We should have more contributors now. Yeah, JF1, he was our product manager. well, he came in like I think a year and a half or 2 years later. Our designer, support.
Okay. Is this like an Oh yeah, it says Electron based.
Yeah, it's Electron. Well, you know, Electron was a GitHub thing, right? Like,
yeah, through Adam, right? Adam was also Electron.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people like to hate it, but it's like it solves a problem, and it reduced the barrier, and that was something that was really important to me, and I think overall to the entire team, was that like we're trying to reduce the barrier to like doing your work. Like you shouldn't have to know how to do certain things in order to do your job, which I know that may sound foreign, but like let's just really think about it. Git is kind of complicated. There's a lot of internals to Git that are, you know, it's a leaky abstraction, right? Like you can't just use it and just not understand how it's working internally. Why should you have to understand how that works internally to change the color of a button? I can't think of it. Or let's say that you're building, you're training models to, you know, for some ML process. Why should you have to understand the implication of Git being content addressable in order to do that? Or if you're a BI analyst and you're tasked with, you know, figuring out how much revenue a specific organization within your companies make, like, why do you need to know that Git is technically a database in the background? Like, why do you need to know that? But a lot of tools, they force the shortcomings of Git onto you, and like you still have to work with it. And yeah, we're getting into my opinions for like other tools at this point, which is why I'm not a fan of them, because, you know, like for instance, Git Kraken, right? I'm not hating on it. It has a nice purpose, but you have to understand Git. And I think that's a fundamental, I think that's fundamentally wrong. Like the wrong idea that you must understand Git to use our tool. To me, that's stupid. But, you know, people love it, but I think that's because it's an ego thing where they've spent all this time learning Git. And of course you want to, you know, show that off. So you're going to do the thing that reinforces to you that, oh, I know this thing, and like I'm technically or whatever competent or whatever. But yeah, this is just, I don't know, this is my opinion, right?
You know, so I think about this a lot sometimes, where it's like, for Git, I use such a small fraction of its full feature set, but it works for me. Like, I'm sure it's possible with so much more, but I just need like 10% of it that I just use, you know, constantly. Maybe every now and then I'll have to jump out. And I think of my iPad with that sometimes, is like, here's this device and it's capable of so much, and all I'm doing is watching YouTube videos on it. But it's like, it's got like an amazing like AL compute GPU kind of thing in it. It's got one of the best cameras in it. It has all this cool stuff. But I found my one use case, and it's scratching that itch for me really well. In my bed, I can just watch YouTube videos and it works. And sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's like, we don't have to surface all this underlying abstraction and power to people. But if you're solving that one use case for them and they're willing to pay for it and use the tool for it, that's fine.
Well, I mean, I think that just speaks to, I mean, the product developers at Apple, because it has all of this technology, but like you can use the iPad and not even know that it exists. Like you don't have to be aware of that. Like the fact that you like this freaking, it's a very powerful device, and you can use it just as a way to watch YouTube, or you can use it to, like, I do a lot of photo editing and stuff like that, and I also do video stuff on here now. Like, it can create mask. Do you know what a mask is? Before I
yeah, for like image editing.
Yeah. It can do that for you, and it's using the ML chips that are in there, like those cores, and it's like I think it's a very good use case of, or a very good example of, you know, not forcing all of that stuff onto the end user. They get to pick and choose what they care about, or
exactly. I think that's something Apple does really well, is the underlying hardware is so powerful and so flexible, but from the end user perspective, I can just have it be a YouTube watcher if I want, or I can have it be a image editor if I want, and it can serve all those different roles for me and be flexible. But I think that's when like the abstractions work really well, is when You can have the tool be something that's something very specific to what you want without all the other complexity being thrown at you.
Right. And when you look at it from a developer perspective, it's almost like Apple is giving you, they're saying, hey, here are these building blocks, here are their capabilities, and here are these APIs that you can use to control these things, and it's up to each app developer, their product teams, to figure out how do we take the fact that this iPad has 8 CPU cores and I don't know however many GPU cores, however many ML cores, and what all the other crap that's on here that I don't even know about. Like, it even has ProMotion. It can adapt the refresh rate. Like, just giving that, like, giving you these capabilities and saying, hey, developers, here's what this thing can do. Here's how you can control it. Go and build these experiences, while at the same time, making sure that whoever's developing these apps are not like forcing these I mean, let's just be honest, like irrelevant technological details onto the user, right? Where it's like, I often say implementation detail, where it's like, we're talking about something and someone's like, hey, like this and this, and I'm like, that's an implementation detail. It doesn't matter. Like, we can get to that at any point in time, and because it's an implementation detail, it can be implemented in however way we want, right? Like, I'll give an example just to make it clear to others. But let's say, for instance, you're trying to build a search algorithm, right? Like, the problem is you want to find information. The implementation detail is, well, which algorithm are you going to use to perform the search?
Right.
I would say that, if you're thinking like me, which is like, you're just thinking about the goal, you're not concerned with this implementation detail, because you understand that it can be infinitely many implementations, but the problem is the problem. There's only one, which is I want to find information.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point.
By the way, I don't want to like gloss over. We have some comments, so let me put some on the screen. We got one from Mana NZ. I want to migrate my old work Android app from XML Compose and iOS UI Kit to Swift UI. It's really hard as tech lead to justify to myself to approve that work. The user won't even know. Helps me, but there are so many other priorities. I agree with that. And maybe this is a bigger question, which is like, how do you decide, like, it's not going to affect your user, but it's going to affect your developer experience, right? Like, it's going to affect your ability to ship code. So at what point do you say, hey, I know that this isn't really going to make a difference for my end users, but we should still do this anyways? Any ideas or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what you said, like your code velocity, if it helps you in how quickly you can ship things, then I think that could be like a bit of a case to the business. It depends on how you pitch it, and it depends on like how quickly you can validate it. Like, there could be some cases where you're adopting a newer technology and it's actually going to harm your code velocity too. It's not always that new is better. Sometimes there's growing pains. Sometimes there's bugs that need to be fixed. So if there's a way you can demonstrate that, like, we can test this first in a small scale and see if it's working, and then we can invest in it further. I think I'm gonna throw a
wrench in there. How would you respond when to this argument? It's the writing on the wall. So it's like, X company has Y technology, and they're saying, hey, we've had Y technology, but we've just developed Z technology, and this is going to be our future.
Yeah.
Now it's
so like Swift UI kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Where it's like, sure, it's not going to affect your user, and honestly, it may impact your velocity negatively. But at the same time, the company has communicated to you, hey, no, this is the direction we're going. How long do you stay with the old technology? Because let's be honest, like, we rely on open source more and more every day. And if more and more people are using the new thing, that means that the older thing, contributions to projects that are using that said thing are going to decrease over time. So it's like, at what point do you say, hey, we need to we need to move on to this new
Yeah,
thing.
it's tricky. It's tricky. Like I can see both sides. You know, there's like versions of Node which are like they have long-term support. They're not going anywhere. They're ancient, but they're not going anywhere because so much infrastructure and backend stuff relies on it. But at the same time, like you want to be where the future is too, especially in an industry that moves fast. So I think you have to play that trade-off. Like, what do you value more? Do you value stability and security? And sure, like there might be writing on the wall, but companies are also, they realize the truth of the enterprise and how slow things move. So they will give you long-term support. My first job ever, I'm not proud to say this, but I was doing Silverlight. I don't know if you remember Silverlight.
I did Silverlight. I also did SharePoint.
Oh my God, me too. Thank you. Thanks for commiserating. But it wasn't half bad, but I remember while I was working with it, Microsoft announced they're dropping support for Silverlight. But they did say they had like a window where they would support it. But at that time I pitched them, like I kind of wanted to have my company move towards web technologies too. That just made it a lot easier to pitch that case. They still use Silverlight. Like basically it was a hedge fund and they wanted like a metrics visualization dashboard kind of thing. And the main purpose of that wasn't even for actual usage. It was just it was a marketing tool. So when investors came in, they could be like, look at all the fancy tools that we use to inform our investing process. And that's the only thing they needed it for. And it worked well. It looked like it was a nice tool. We had some third-party contractor build it out. It looked very sleek. And if that's what use case it served, then there was no real reason to invest all this money and resources to move it to web, where you could just pull it up during a client meeting and be like, hey, these are the tools that we use. So I guess you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to get out of this? What problem is it solving for you? And then is it worth the investment to upgrade it? Sometimes maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think like with all complicated things, it's all just trade-offs.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a very senior developer thing too, is I see people have very strong opinions on Twitter where they're like, this is the next new like silver bullet. And there's so much caveats to every decision and requirements. It all depends on so many factors. You can't compress that into a tweet, but it just like, it gets more engagement, I guess, if it's
of course, take. Like I think we live in the age of we say something to get a reaction, not to say anything meaningful.
Wow. Yeah.
It's harder to
Amen.
do that, All right, hold on. We got another one. He says, my uncle asked me how I was still working for the same company, building the same thing for 7 years. Then you built it 6 years ago. Well, yeah, it was never done. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I like working at product companies. Let's just say I have a perspective because I used to work as a consultant. I did consulting for half my career. And in consulting, you have a project, you deliver it, you move on to something new. You don't get to deal with any of the mistakes that you may have made, or
no legacy code.
You're never having to truly like deal with the mess that you're leaving behind. And when I jumped into product, for the record, GitHub was the first product company I've worked at. Night and day difference. It required a complete shift in how I thought, because like, yeah, you delivered this thing, but this is still it's still the thing that you're doing, and for as long as you're going to be here, chances are, unless you go to another project team or product team, like you're going to be working on this thing. And I grew to love that, where it's like, you get to see, the progress of what you're doing. And also I love the fact that I had to deal with the things that I like, the decisions that I made, because it forced me like over time to really be thoughtful about a decision that I'm making, right? Like, for instance, if you have an open source project and people submit PRs to it, your first thought may be, hey, yeah, that's great. I'm just going to merge these all just willy-nilly. But now my perspective is like, well, no, I need to be a little bit more careful, because at the end of the day, I am going to have to maintain this code, and this person can go away and do whatever they want. And it's like, I'm on the hook for it. So
it becomes a liability, right?
Exactly. So it's like, is this thing in line with what we're like, where we're trying to go? Does it meet whatever our standard is? Is this something that I'm willing to support? Because at the end of the day, like, I'm going to have to support it. Complete shift in how I thought about, you know, open source, just by virtue of me having to actually deal with the messes that other people leave behind. And, you know, like, if someone introduces a bug, well, who's going to fix it? I can say, hey, can you fix your bug? But it's open source. They are under no obligation to respond to me or do anything. So it's just that line of thinking. It's just like, hey, I'm going to have to deal with this. So I should be a lot more thoughtful than I would be otherwise.
Very good points.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat. Hello, Mellow Echo. We had someone just say hi.
Hey.
Yeah, so I'm curious. We were talking about Git earlier, and I want to show something technical. Just, I don't know. I know we don't need to, but it would be cool just to like, let's look at Git a little bit. Let's see what we can see. And you've been learning this, so maybe you can explain some stuff. Maybe I'll add color. Who knows? We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen on Zoom. I haven't been sharing my screen on Zoom. My bad.
We should peek under the hood in the .git directory.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to do. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I see like some graphs.
Yeah. So you're looking at, all right. So now I'm also going to share my screen on the chat, or not on the chat, on the stream. And let's open up a new terminal. And we'll move that. Oops. Why is it doing that? What the hell? All right, here we are.
Nice.
Make this a lot bigger, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to my code directory.
Are you using Starship for your bash prompt and stuff?
No, I'm not. I don't even know what Starship is. what Starship?
It's like one of those like cross shell configuration tools. But okay,
all right, you'll have to educate me on this. Like, we should do these streams more. Like, I think this is kind of fun, and I think people are getting value out of it. All right, so we're gonna do. We're gonna create a new. Oh, all right. We're gonna create a new Git repo. So I guess we're gonna learn how to do that. So in order to do that, first I'm gonna create a directory, and we're gonna call this Fun with Git, maybe.
Sure.
And we'll go into Fun with Git, and we'll do Git init. So, want to explain what Git init's gonna do?
Yes. Okay. So let's do an LSLA just to show what we're starting with, which is nothing. And I should go on Zoom, right? There's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah. So that's honestly why we use Zoom, is because there's like a 12 to 20 second lag depending on.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so as we can see now, there's literally nothing in this directory. So when you do git init, it's gonna create a .git folder. So let's start with that.
All right. Let me do one thing first. Why did it do that? That was weird. Okay. So we're gonna come in.
Actually, you want to know something cool? I saw this in a presentation on Git recently. I don't know what you're gonna do in that second tab, but there's this command called watch.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
Oh, no way. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Dev. I may have to install it though. Let's see. Yeah, I may have to install it.
Oh, okay.
But there's actually another thing you could do. You can just write a little script in shell to do a while or whatever, and always but yeah, we'll use watch. I think it's a little bit easier.
Okay. I can dig up the command that you need to run.
All right, yes, that would be great. All right, so we're gonna go into Fun with Git.
All right, it's like watch dash n dash d.
We need to give it an interval.
Let me
do
type it in
5.
Zoom.
We're gonna do every 5 seconds.
Okay.
Dash D. Hey, oh, you put it in Zoom?
Yeah.
Hold on, I have
Give me
to
just
find
one
it.
second.
Okay.
You said 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that should be it. It should just be
I think you gotta do find and then period, and then that's the command it'll run every 5 seconds.
find period. Oh, I couldn't do L, the command. Let's see.
You
Let's see if it
could.
will.
I
Oh, it
think this
doesn't
does subdirectories too.
now. Okay. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. I think it's exa for me. No, it's not exa. Yeah, it is exa.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That
I don't
should
use I don't use just regular
LS?
LS. Yeah, but
Okay.
also I think we could do find dash or find dot.
work. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you do git init, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff pop up. Yep. So this is the Git folder. This is where all the information pertaining to your repository is stored in the .git hidden folder. A bunch of like hooks stuff comes up.
Yeah,
So
you
if
could
you want,
delete
you could
those.
like
Those are all
just remove
samples.
that.
Yeah, you remove them. So yeah, we'll do RM. We're gonna do hooks.
And what those hooks are just code that you can have run every time certain events related to your repository happen. So you can see different like lifecycle events listed. And yeah, we just remove those just so it's a little bit cleaner here.
Why is it doing that? It's doing that. Okay. I'm like, that's.
So when you did the -d, it shows you like the diff, like what's changing.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is the most simplest Git repository. There's nothing in it. So
Well, let's
I
look
guess
at the config.
let's add a file.
Let's look at the config first. I think this is
Okay.
useful to go through. So we'll go. We'll do git and then config. We'll see here that we have this core thing. This is how we configure this particular repository, like how Git is going to behave in this particular repository. So you can, for instance, this ignore case. This is typically true, but let's say, for instance, you're on some system where case is important and you want to make sure that that's preserved. You would set that to, I guess, to false or something like that. Local ref update, I forget what that is, but I do know that bear, this is if you want to like take the repo and just send it to someone else, you could use bear, like create a bear repo and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's add a file, I suppose. So
Yeah,
we'll
I think like a bear repo is one that doesn't have a working directory.
correct.
So it's just that Git folder, nothing else really in it.
The database.
Yeah, only the database, exactly. So yeah, so we'll create a file like you're doing right now.
What should we call this file? Does it matter? A? Can I call it A?
Yeah, he's good.
Okay.
Okay. So now, interesting, some stuff changed. Oh yeah, that file A was added. And then, so right now, Git's not keeping track of that file.
Correct.
It exists in your working directory, but the Git database in that .git folder has no idea it exists. So to tell it that, hey, I'm adding something that I want to keep track of, we use the git add command. So when you do git add,
let's do git status first, just so we can show here that like Git does recognize that you've added the file, but it says that it's untracked, which means that if you were to make any changes to this file, Git doesn't care. If you want Git to start to care, you have to do what Pratik is saying. You have to first add it. So we're going to do that. So we'll do git add. And there are two ways
and
that
before
you can do
you
things.
hit enter, I'll just want to say something before you hit enter, but you can finish what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. So there are two ways that you can add things. A lot of people, you'll see they'll do dot. I actually do not recommend this because there may be things that are in your that's in your work directory that you may not want to add all in one go. I prefer to add the file directly. So in this case, we'll just pass the file name A, and because we're already in the local folder where the file exists, we could just put A. We don't have to give the full name, which would be like /user /I am Will Shepherd /code devlog. We can just say A. All right. So
Yeah.
you don't want me to hit A. You don't want me to add this yet. So go ahead.
Yeah, I want to explain what's going to happen first before you hit enter, and then when you hit enter, we can actually see that happening. So basically, when you do git add A, what you're telling Git is, hey, I want you to add this file into your file database, into your cache database, whatever you want to call it. So what we're going to see happen is on the right-hand side, in .git/objects, we're going to see a new object come up. And that object is going to be that snapshot of that A file. So now when you hit enter, you'll see we'll get another entry in objects. Yep. So we see that /e6/ really long hexadecimal string. And we'll explain what that hexadecimal string is too. But that right there is the file that we just added. And if you do git cat-file -p for pretty print, and then paste in like the first few hex characters there, so E69DE or something.
I think you should be able to just do E6 as of right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that should work.
No, you need to give at least 4, I think. 93DE. 93DE.
Oh, we touched it. We didn't add anything inside of it?
Yeah, we didn't do anything. So let me add something into it. So we'll say hello. And we'll put that inside of A. And then we can do the thing again. No.
You'll have to add it.
Yeah,
so you'll have to, yeah. And now you'll need the new hex code.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes.
Because now,
CE, because
but you actually showed a good point.
Yes, it creates it. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So since you edited the file and now you're adding the new updated file, Git keeps track of both snapshots. So that E69DE is still the empty file, and now the CE01 is the new file. So now when we do cat file,
it's a new state, right? Like it's the new state.
The new state, exactly.
Hold on, give me a second. We have a comment. Action, hoping I don't get banned as Git crack user. Oh no, I don't know. I'm not one of those. You use whatever you want to use. Like yeah, I don't mind. All right, I appreciate Git, but I've been burned by messing up commands before. So I will say that the best reason to learn the internals of how Git is working is so that when you fuck up, which you will, you can backtrack. And to me, I judge someone's Git knowledge by how quickly can they dig themselves out of a hole, right? Like some people, what they'll do is they'll just delete the whole repo and reclone it if something goes down. I've seen that happen. You wouldn't believe it, but
I've been guilty of that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Well, yeah. Fortunately, my experience with Git, I didn't really use it until I joined GitHub. So I've kind of learned how to use it from the people who literally built it. So yeah, they would let me just do things like that. But anyway, let's put in this new SHA. And also, I think it's important to add, why is it doing this E6? Why is it taking the first 2 characters of the SHA and making that into a directory and then the other thing? I know why it is, but I'm just curious, like, can you give a little color as to why that is?
Yeah, great question. I think I have an intuition, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just like a Linux file system sort of thing, where having those subdirectories makes it easier to index. Like that file, that object folder can be huge. So by having like those 256 possible subdirectories, it just makes it easier to index and look things up.
Right, that is exactly the case. Otherwise, like these can get like really deep. It's hard for me not to think of this as a tree, but like if you were like if you think of this as a tree, you don't want basically you don't want this to turn into a linear list. So if you break these apart, because they can only be 26 characters and 9 numbers, those are you do the combinations of that. That's this many, I guess, folders that you're going to have. So you're going to be able to split that long list into more of a flat or broad structure. I don't know, in my mind, I just think depth first versus DFS versus BFS, where it's like, in this case, we want this to grow breadth-wise, not depth-wise. And yeah, it's to do with Linux. But yes, we've done the git cat file, which was going to go into this and actually show you the contents of whatever this object is, which is hello.
Yeah, so there we go. We can see we have that updated snapshot. So now we have objects within our database, but how do we, so in a sense, we've saved down a state, but we need to give it a sense of, we're missing two things. One, we're missing relationships. So let's say if we have subfolders, how do we, like, if you added a folder and then a file inside that folder, we need like a way of representing that. So hierarchy between objects. And then the other thing we need is a sense of time. So where I'm getting to with that is commits. But let's go one step at a time. So
Okay.
First, what if we were to add another file, but in a subfolder?
Okay, so I'm curious, if I were to just do like file or folder / will it do it? Will it let me do that? No, it won't.
I think
Okay.
no, yeah, you have to
Unfortunately.
make
so
dirt first. Yeah.
We'll do our folder 1,
Yeah.
and then we will touch B. Should we put anything inside of B?
Actually, let's put something inside of it because I want to show.
Okay. All right. So
Because here's the thing: if you don't put something inside of it, based on the content addressable part, we're not going to get a new object because we already have an object that has nothing in it.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. So now we have that.
Okay. So now let's add folder 1. So if we do git add folder -1, and this will go and recursively add the elements inside of it too to our index.
Did I just fat finger something? Did I do something stupid here? Oh, I did. Okay, give me a second. Let me move B into folder 1. My bad. Okay. So we're gonna git add folder 1.
Yep.
We're good? Want me to go ahead and do the
Yeah.
thing? All right.
Yeah. And then, okay, we got a whole bunch of stuff there. So we got, let's do the cat file thing with some of the new stuff here. So,
One, two. Wait, whoa.
oh, you got to do -p maybe for pretty print. Okay, so
That's the wrong
That-
one.
that's the B file we have, right?
Yeah. All right. Okay. I thought that was the new one. My bad. I was like, oh, that's the new one. You can tell that I was not paying much attention. So I think E or D9. I think D9 is new. That's for sure.
D9's the
new.
new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
5F3. There we are. Content. So
Content.
Let me clear all
Okay.
that out and do that again. All right.
Okay, so now we can see that in our database, we have 3 files. Even though in our actual folder, we have 2 files, but we did have a version. We have an older version of one of the files. Now, what we're doing as we're working on this is we're building up an index. So when we're hitting git add, we're updating that file .git/index. And what index does is it tries to keep track of a tree that you're building up. So I wonder if there's a way to pretty print what's in that index.
Well,
You can just do like cat.git/index. It's gonna be ugly.
yeah.
But,
I thought I was about to say, is it binary? I don't remember. It's
It
been a
is
while.
binary?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But you can kind of make out some things in it, even though it's binary.
Well, I think
So
I
I
have
don't
to use
know if-
cat for that. Nah, I can't.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of ugly binary.
I
but-
do have a hex editor. Do you think that would be useful?
It could be.
All right, let's try
Ah.
that. Oh, here, I guess I can. I don't know if you know how to do this, but you can show hidden folders or hidden files or whatever in
Really?
Mac OS in the Finder. So I guess you'll learn something too.
Okay.
Are we in Devlog? Here we are. And this is Let's Git. Oh, it's here. All right. Well, typically you do Command Shift period, and that'll hide and show. your hidden folders.
Command shift period.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. All right. So we'll pull in our index. Open that up. Okay. Can I make this bigger? A little bit. All right. So we see DRC.
Yeah. And then we see folder -1/B.
Uh-huh.
And then we actually see the file name, so A, but it's just because the file names
It's
are
a poor
short.
name,
It's just
yeah.
A and B.
But
That's why.
we have the B though here. So we do see that one of them is listed like the whole name because
Yes.
it's in that folder.
Yes.
So that helps.
Exactly. So my point here is the Git database by itself, all the objects, the 3 objects we added so far are called blobs. And blobs only describe a file's contents. They don't even describe the file's name. They don't even describe folders. They just describe the file's contents.
All right.
But there's a separate type of an object called a tree object. And trees can point to 2 things, to other trees and to files, to blobs, essentially. So what we're doing right now is in that index file, we're building up a tree. So it's like this is often called a staging area, or it's often called the index. You add to the index. When you do git add, you can say you're adding to the staging area or adding to the index. And the index, though, only gets saved down as an object into that objects folder when you call commit. So we can try that now. So we can do git commit, and then we can do -m to provide a message. And what I'm gonna propose here is we're gonna get 3 objects coming up in our objects folder when we hit enter now. By the way, I think exclamation mark doesn't work because there's some like bash thing where you can't use exclamation marks and get commit messages.
You could do it.
I don't know if you've ever ran
in
into
GitHub
that.
Desktop. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Got it. Okay, so what I'm saying now is we're gonna get 3 new objects come up in that right hand side. We have 3 currently. It's gonna double to 6, and I'll explain what and why once we hit enter.
All right, I'll go ahead and hit it.
Okay. I hope I'm not wrong. Boom, we got 6 objects. Okay. So why do we have 6 when we just ran one command, git commit? So what we did there was 1, we added a new tree object. 2, we added a new commit object. And what's the third one?
Wait, did you say blob? Did you say the blob?
There shouldn't. So we already had all the blobs.
Okay.
Unless. Wow, why am I blanking? I just had that.
If I would have saw, like, I mean, it does show, but I don't know which ones are which. There's a way that we can check this though. Man, I'm really rusty. Is it git show? Can we use git show to show the type? Is it -t to get the type of a particular object?
So you can do cat-file with -t.
Oh, it's cat. Oh, it's git cat file. Okay.
Yeah.
-t, and let's try F5 BC.
Yeah, that one looks new.
All
So,
right,
okay, so we got a tree.
Okay, let's also try BB F4.
Oh, I figured out why it's 3. We have 2 tree objects, and
yeah, that just we see we got 2 of them here.
And I can explain why. So the first tree object is for our root tree. So it's our working directory that has the A file in it and then the folder 1 in it. And then the second tree object is for folder 1. So because we have a subfolder, folder -1, that creates a second tree object. Does that make sense?
It does. And
So
it says that here too, just for anyone who's trying to keep up with this. So when we committed this change, the changes that we committed was we have this blob here, or this A, which is in the root directory, which directory is a tree. And because we have this folder, which was also added, that's another tree because it's a directory. So we have 2 trees. And
the interesting bit is that anytime you do a commit, commits only point to trees. So whenever you have a commit in Git, you link it to a tree in your object database. And that tree basically represents a snapshot of the working directory at that commit. So the root node. So if you do git cat -file and do -p again and put one of the tree hexes. So this is our root directory. So you can see it has folder 1 in it, which is a tree, and then it has the blob A. And I know that this is for the root directory because I can see that it represents the contents of my root directory. It has a folder and A. Now, if you do git cat file and do the F5BC, what I would expect to see in here is just one line entry for B. And yep, that's what we have. Now, we accounted for 2 of the new objects that were introduced. The third one is the commit object. I wonder if there's an easy way to figure.
I think it's 5AB.
Yeah. Okay.
B, D. Yeah, here we are.
Yes. Okay. So when we print this out, every commit object starts with that tree line because, like I said, every commit always points to the root tree. And we can see that the tree hex is BBF4, which was that first one that we cat filed above. Yes. Which had our root directory, the A and the folder 1.
Sorry, that one. My bad. I'm highlighting for people who are watching.
What's that?
I say I'm highlighting for the folks who are watching.
Oh,
because I imagine that this is like, let's be real. Like this is something that a lot of people, it could give people some challenges without seeing it, you know?
Yeah, it can be like looking at all the hex can be a little overwhelming. But at the end of the day, what we're building up here is just a DAG. Like we have these nodes and they're pointing to other nodes and we're sort of building up this tree-like structure.
Should we do a visualization of this? Do you think
that'll
be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you use that? What's that tool called? Excalibur? Do you use that?
Yeah, I use that every now and then. I find that pretty helpful on streams.
Okay. Well, let's do a new window here.
And it's collaborative.
Yeah. I was gonna say like we can do that. Oh man, I'm over here lagging. I guess Apple is telling me I need to get that M3 whenever it comes out. All right, let's go to Excalibur. And am I logged in here? No, I'm not.
Do you have to log in?
For if I want to make a collaborative, yes.
Oh, okay.
Like if I'm going to send it to you, so you can do stuff.
Gotcha.
Let's do this. How come I don't know how to make a new thing? Am I like?
Start drawing on the top right.
Okay. All right. Now we'll share this.
Do you see start drawing on the top right?
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
If you're watching the stream, it's behind. Maybe. Or maybe it isn't. I don't know.
Oh, I keep forgetting which. I was looking at Twitch. My bad.
All right, I just sent you the link, so now you'll be able to do something. What I am going to propose is that we don't put the entire hash. We just put the first 4 because that's all we really need at the moment.
Okay.
And how do you feel about using a square as our things? So this is going to be our 5A BD.
One second, let me open up Excalibur. Yeah, cool.
Okay. Do another one. Actually, I'll just copy this. Can I group that and then duplicate it? All right, and now we're gonna do D9, 5F. Oh, maybe we should also put the type in here as well. Do you think that'll be helpful?
Yeah,
like
we could do that.
Type of object it is.
Yeah.
All right, so I got to figure out what 5A BD is. Oh wait, it's literally here. It says it right here.
We got it right here. It's a commit.
5A. All right, so let's add another texting in here, and this is going to be a commit.
Yep.
Like that. All right. D9.
Oops.
5F is content, so that's a blob.
That's a blob.
Should we use what it says in Git, or should we use what we know it is? Like, should we call it a blob or content?
Let's just call it a blob.
Okay.
Keep it consistent.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll call it a blob.
A blob, yeah.
Okay. Let's group those together. And then what was the other one that we had? We had F5
Trees.
BC.
Yeah.
So we'll take this F5 deep BC. And this was a tree, right?
That was a tree, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I see it now. All right, tree. Okay. So we have a commit, and that points to a tree. Why is it not moving? Oh, there we are. All right, so we have our commit 5ABD, and that points to the tree BBF. Oh, we need another tree here. So let's duplicate this.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do BB F4. All right. And that's the wrong tree. It's going to point to this tree, BB F4.
My bad.
Yeah, so yeah, there we are. Then we have our content. All right, so BBF4 points to the blob as well as to the tree F, whatever the thing is. Oops, sorry. How do I?
You're good.
I don't know how you do it. Okay, there we are. We'll do that.
And then that tree should also have a blob, right?
F5 BC.
Yeah.
Let me F5. Yeah, it's D9.
D9.
5F.
Oh, okay, so it's actually this one.
Yeah.
Let me move that.
Oh, I guess I should figure out what BB. Oh, so there's another. Oh, we're missing a blob. Okay, I see what the issue is here. So I'm gonna duplicate this, and this blob is going to be CE01, like so. And BBF points to that, like that.
Yes. So yeah, I hope we're not losing people, but I think this just is just a DAG way of representing what our file system looks like. And yeah, just to re-motivate these types, blobs are what we care about the most, right? Like blobs are the actual content, like you were saying, of our source control. We lose the blobs, we lose what we're using Git for, to keep track of things. Trees, on the other hand, kind of relate blobs together and they give it hierarchy. So they're kind of like folders, right? Like it's a way of organizing things. It's a way of keeping track. What Git also does is you'll notice that in the contents for a blob, it never specifies the name of the file. Only trees keep track of the name of the files. So blobs are just arbitrary binary data, and that's it. They have no other information associated with them. Trees are what give them a handle. Like they have the name for the blob. They point to the ID, the SHA ID for the blob, and they point to other trees, which introduces hierarchy and organization there. And then commits are a way of relating trees across time. And when I say time is important because time gives you versioning, right? It gives you a notion of like what happened in the past, what's happening in the future. And the way commits do that is through two key properties. So one, like we mentioned, a commit always points to a root tree. So that gives you a notion of the snapshot, right? Like this commit points to this snapshot of our code base. But
it points to
time
something else
comes into
too.
play. What's up?
It should point to something else too.
Exactly. And that's the parent property of a commit. So a commit also optionally, and I'll say why optionally. And that's basically because the first commit never has a parent, because it's literally the first commit. But every subsequent commit will have one or more parents. And parents, that way you can kind of navigate the DAG and go back in time. So you have to look at a commit's parent to see where it came from So if we do git cat file in that commit, we're not going to see a parent, right? We just saw tree, author, and committer as the 3 properties. But if you were to add a separate commit now, we would see tree, parent, author, committer. And sometimes you can have more than one parent too, which is when you have a merge commit, but that's a little bit more advanced. But the most important part here is the initial commit never has a parent, and every subsequent commit has at least one or more parents, and that's how you get a notion of time in your Git database.
So I want to point out two things that I think are worth noting. First of all, I'm going to change these to a different color. Our blobs, just to and then our trees. Let's make trees
them green.
Green.
Trees are green.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, good point. And then we'll keep commits as what they are. Okay, so one observation. I guess I shouldn't really call it this. Here's a fact: your blobs are always going to be leaf nodes. All right. So if you're thinking of this as a tree, as a DAG, well, let's be honest. Isn't a graph just a more generalized tree? Like that's how I've always thought about it. It's a tree with less constraints, aka a more general tree. So like you're always going to have like these leaves. They won't point to anything. Their out nodes will be 0. The other thing is you will always have you're going to have 0, 1, or 2 parent nodes or parents per commit. So there can never be more than 2. It'll always be that.
Actually, that's not true. I think apparently
Really?
I was reading in a Linux commit, there was like 12 parents for one commit once. It was like a 12-way merge. I don't know why. I think it's
How does
arbitrary.
that work?
I don't know. I think it's just like an annotation. It doesn't serve anything functionally.
Oh, okay.
Really.
It's not, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like Git using that. It's just like.
Yeah. Like Git might just use it to print out a lineage, but it's based on the person doing the merge commit, what they want to really put in there.
Okay. Now I have a question. Would it be pedantic to say that what we're really getting is not necessarily time, but order or sequence, like the order of which things happened?
I think you're right. But I think of time as an ordering mechanism.
Well, that's what I was saying.
time
Like it's
gives
just
order.
pedantic, right? Like it's probably pedantic. All right. Before we move on, we have one question. What is the difference between a software developer and a software engineer?
Oh, interesting question. This might also be pedantics.
I would say. I don't think that there is a difference. No, in my mind, like engineering and development are the same. But I have noticed that some people, like, they will place engineering over development.
Yeah. You know what? The way I think of it is by an analogy. So if you think of like a real estate developer and a real estate engineer, I would think engineering is more like sciencey and more in the STEM part of it. Whereas a real estate developer, like they're building houses and they're like putting them on the marketplace. So they're more like building applications, whereas the engineers are more like exploring, like doing maybe research part of it and exploring new frontiers. I don't know. I could be totally off, but that's
well,
just...
I'm gonna take what you said and run with it. It sounds like engineers plan and design, and developers are more concerned with implementation. However, that's not to say, I think that there's the reason why a lot of, I guess there is this, like, what's the difference is that I think a lot of times software engineers also do the implementation.
Yeah, it blurs together for sure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's a good enough answer for you. Like, I personally don't, like, I don't know. I don't really see much of a difference, but that's because I've kind of done both sides, where it's like I have had to plan and design work, And honestly, that was one thing I learned at GitHub actually, is that just because I'm the one that's planning or designing or leading a feature doesn't mean that I'm going to be the one that builds it. Right. So like maybe that's why for me, I'm just like, there is no difference, because I historically have had to do both. We have someone else chiming in. We have Mono NZ. Developer writes code, engineer understands the whole stack and writes code in my head, but don't think it matters. Well, I'm going to argue that no, at least in my experience as an engineer, I'm concerned with more than just a stack. Like there's a lot more. Like, how do we deliver this to our users? You know, like you have the system and your users are different places on Earth. How do you make sure that you can deliver the same experience to all of these different people? Or how do you make sure that you take their needs into account? For instance, not everyone speaks English. I know, hard to know, hard to believe, but like, you know, like someone has to think about these things when they're designing these systems, because let's be honest, not every language can be expressed in ASCII, which is why we use UTF. But there are different versions of UTF, which depending on what languages you're trying to serve, you're going to need to take that into account, because there's storage costs that you're going to have to think about. There's bandwidth costs that you're going to have to think about if you're doing like internet type apps. And then there's also like representation when you render it, right? Like some languages, aka Arabic, are not read from left to right. They're read from right to left. Some languages are not read from like left to right. They're read top to bottom. Some languages don't even have like they have symbols, so it's like it's a lot. Okay, all right. We're doing a stack what's wrong where the whole system, how one decision will affect another future decision. Any other context you want to add to that, or color, or do you think we've successfully answered or distinguished the difference between engineering and developing?
No, I think that's I like where we ended up with an answer.
Okay.
I do think that developers are in very high demand right now, just because we already have all these APIs and things engineered out. Now it's a matter of like making them work together and building applications. So I think like I associate the word applications with developers a little bit more, whereas engineering is like maybe a little bit more zoomed out from that.
Fun fact, my title at GitHub was application engineer.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. That like marries the two.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've answered that. So hopefully you're satisfied with that. If not, I don't know. Sorry. So yeah, let's continue on with what we got going on.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so maybe we can show the content addressable part of this.
Sure.
Okay, so how about we take one of the files we have, we copy it, and then we add that, and we notice that no new objects are created.
Okay. I thought you were going to say maybe we should run a SHA sum on one of these and see that it gives us something interesting. It results in one of these.
We could do that, but so there's one caveat to that. The object itself contains a header on top of the binary data.
It does. You have
you can't just do a simple SHA sum on it. You have to prefix it and then do the SHA, and then it'll match up. Yeah,
because it's the content, right? Like it's pretty. I don't know. It's pretty wild. It's kind of cool. Anyway, let's copy. Yeah. Which file should we copy? Does it matter?
So let's copy the file inside the subfolder.
Okay.
And we'll put it on the root folder. So we'll take B and we'll put it at the root.
All right.
And we can even change the name of it, to be honest. It doesn't even have to be called B anymore.
Okay.
But as long as the contents are the same,
we're going to call it B copy. How about that? B copy.
Yeah, let's do that. And then, why don't you do exa and we can see the tree as it looks now. So yeah, we have a B copy, and then we also have the B inside folder 1.
Oh, here, I can, we'll do this. So we'll see that we have our B here. Oh, I'm pointing, I'm sorry. We have our B here, but we also have our B copy in the root of our directory. All right, cool.
And now when we do git add, we'll notice nothing gets added on the right-hand side.
Well, let's do a status first. I want to keep doing the status just to show that we see that it has untracked. However, we're also going to go ahead and do our add, and we'll add our B copy.
and boom, no flashing white on the right hand side because we didn't introduce any new objects. Since we copied an existing file, the SHA sum is the same. And SHA is just a way of creating a hash. It takes as an input the file's contents and it produces, I think, like a 40 character hex string.
I have forgotten how many characters but how about this? We'll see. We can how can we do this? We can echo tests into SHA.
I think you misspelled echo.
Oh, I did. Eco. There we are. SHA sum.
There we go.
Will it let me do that? Yeah, it will. Okay, and I probably should pass this into WC. 44.
40. Oh no, but that includes the white space at the end, no?
Oh, it does. You're right. How many characters of white space? One.
Why is there
two,
white space
three.
at the end though? Can you do
I don't know actually.
Is it TR that you can get the first
with
word of a
Trell?
sentence?
TR. Let's see. TR.
Get first column.
Would that be C?
I'm such a bash noob.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I've used TR, but I was hoping that maybe this would tell us, like in the man file, like why.
Yeah. Bash get first.
Oh, okay.
Word
so with no
until
file
white space.
or when file is dash, I see that. Does that mean anything? I don't know, but I guess I don't know. I don't know if it matters that much. But
okay,
I think it's between 44 and 40. How about that? We can give cut. Okay, all right. So all right, let's try that. Yeah. So then we'll do cut. Oh, this is you. My bad. I was gonna say, man, chat's coming in hard. Okay. And let me see. 41. Is there a space?
There is one there. Yeah.
Well,
41.
Let's just say 40. I think it's 40.
Yeah, I think it's 40.
Yeah,
I think
we're gonna
maybe
go with 40.
I think it keeps the white space too, even though you're cutting on it. Maybe, I don't know.
Or you know what? Here we can do even one better. Let's do this.
Or maybe there's a new line character at the end. I don't know.
Seriously though, like why? I'm starting to hate authentication with sites where they expire you. It's just like, come on, like. All right, so
I've noticed that.
How many characters are in a SHA sum? Just give me the number. Oh my god, I hate that. I really do hate that. This when it feels the need. Is this what mansplaining is? I was just fucking with you. So yeah, you're right. It's 40 characters long for SHA-1, which is what Git is using. So yeah. All right, cool.
I just Wikipedia'd it too. And then yeah, the interesting thing here is that SHA-1 isn't secure. People use SHA-256 now, but for the purposes of Git, where we care more about consistency, like every input should produce the same output, it's fine because it holds up to that guarantee. Right.
Yeah, we don't I mean, we use hashes for different things. In this case, it doesn't need to be secure. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it does, but like I don't know why it does. Because you would just not give access to the entire repo. Like you can secure the repo.
Yeah.
Versus.
There is one place where trust comes into play. And Linus actually mentions this in the original GitHub README, where he's saying like, can you trust commits coming in? That's why you have signed commits, right? Exactly. That's why you have signed commits. So he mentions like you should use PGP or GPG to like sign off on one commit. Well, all right, hold on, wait. You bring up something, and this is related to something else that I'm doing. Oh no way. Well, I started on it, but then I got sick, so I haven't continued. But I am actually working on a GitHub security thing, and one of the things that I will be talking about are GPG keys. Oh no way, that's awesome. For signed commits, yes, yeah. Let's see. And the really interesting part too with Git is since it's a directed tree, if you sign off on one commit, every commit that points to is also validated. It's almost like how you have Merkle trees with like blockchain stuff. Like by signing off on like one commit, you also are signing off on every parent commit that one points to, because if someone goes in and changes something by the parent, it would break the hash. And my commit that points to that commit, the hash for that would also break, because it factors the hash. There's like this integrity component to it.
I think you should explain it in terms of blockchain, because I think that's what a lot of people think. Like they understand that, where just like, because it's always pointing to the previous thing, and if you wanted to like change anything, you'd have to go back to the original thing and change that, but then that's going to break, you know,
exactly
everything else. But one thing I will add is that you can have a mix of signed commits and unsigned commits in a repo, and they can point to one another. But yeah, like that's a good point. That's a good point. I just wanted to bring that up because I was like, oh, that's actually something I'm working on a presentation for. That's
cool. Is this for like a company you're working with or something?
Well, so I'm affiliate. Well, I won't get in. I think I've shared some of this in our RC group, but one of the entities that I'm associated with, one of the employees, engineers, lost their phone, and thus they lost their ability to log into GitHub because they have 2FA set up. And I was just like, no. Here, like I can write some stuff to, or at least give a presentation on like how to prevent this and like what you should be thinking about. Because I first asked, I'm like, well, do you have a access token, a personal access token on your machine? And the answer is no. Or did you ever set up SSH? Answer is no, because those are the other ways that you can recover your account if you can't get access to your recovery codes via your email. So it's like this was a catastrophic failure. And I was just like, okay, like maybe I can do a presentation on like just security on GitHub in general, because you know, losing keys and access is a thing, but you want to know how to recover from it. And you also want to just understand why we do these things and like what the implications are and that kind of thing. So a little bit of color into why I was I'm working on that.
I love that. I think that's so useful. In my password manager tool, I have a note called GitHub recovery codes. So I keep track in there, like the
same.
the offline ones. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me close this. I think we're done with ChatGPT for now, and we have our DAG, and we now understand that a SHA is 40 characters, and we also now understand that the only time an object is going to get created if it doesn't already exist, aka the content is different. That's the only thing that's going to be put in here, which is one of the reasons why Git repositories can be so small. Is because we aren't duplicating data like other lesser, like SVNs, like version control VCS. It's like I gave it away like SVN or CVS.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned, I haven't gotten too much into the implementation stuff here, but I've learned that there's another way that Git also optimizes storage. And those are called pack files.
Exactly. Yes. We have one here somewhere. Wait, do we not have it?
No, we don't have it. So here's the thing. You don't need pack files. They're just an optimization. So right now, because our repo is so small, Git hasn't done anything yet for optimization.
We have one. It should be empty. Yeah. Like so
that's
every
just
repo,
the directory.
Yeah.
It'll be put in there. But when you do git push, before it pushes it, it'll pack it up before it sends it over the wire. So that's like one moment where Git decides to do the optimization. And then there's also a manual command you can invoke from the command line that'll force the pack to happen as well.
Well, we can do one of either. We can either force a pack or we can add a remote, which could be useful because like so far we have a repository and it's not distributed yet. And typically the way we distribute things is via the internet. So we can share, for instance, I can share this repo with you and just give you a copy. But then if you make changes, we have no way to reconcile like your changes with my changes. We need some way to merge these things together. That's typically what I use GitHub for. In order to get this on the internet, we can configure Git with a remote And if we were to push something, it'll go up to GitHub and push it up there.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I've been thinking about how to share the code without using GitHub. Because I think a lot of the things about Git was there was no centralized authority. Not that you need GitHub, but I was trying to figure out how to make up my own SSH server too. So I could have like my own Git server running on some host, maybe on Amazon or somewhere, and like what that process would look like. But obviously GitHub is just so amazing and so easy to use. Like I would obviously just use that. But
So
it's just like an
yeah,
experiment.
you can. Here's what's it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So the concept of a pull request is actually a GitHub thing. That's not a Git thing. If you just have your own server, sure, you can implement your own version of a PR, but you can also produce what's called a patch file or a diff file. I don't know which one you want to use. And whatever my changes are, like, you know, I can send that patch to you, and then you can then apply that patch locally.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So a patch file, that has nothing to do with Git, right? That's just like some other format.
That's Git. That's Git.
Oh, Git creates the patch files.
Yeah, you can create a patch file. Here, let me show an example of what I'm going to use GitHub to do this, because it's like I already have changes where I can show this. We'll do GitHub. Okay. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. We'll use YTTGen maybe. Go to PR. All right, dot patch. So this is what a patch file looks like.
Oh, wow. So at the end of the URL, you just put dot patch.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is, I guess, what comes up when you do git diff.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want to create a patch file, you do git diff and you pipe it to a file dot patch or whatever
Very
you
cool.
want, and then you can apply that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think NPM also has support for this, where if you have, say I downloaded an NPM package and it has some code in it that's broken, but the author hasn't published an update, I can create a patch file making that change and save it in my repo. And I think Yarn has support for this, where it'll just apply the patches. So I can like on the fly update the NPM download and make it work for me. If that makes sense.
It does. And I mean, I would expect that, because the way I look at a patch file is it's a commit almost.
Yeah.
Like when you apply it, like you apply it in a commit. And it's my understanding that NPM and all these tools, really all they're doing is they're working with the Git tree.
Right.
Like, because you typically the version is just a tag, and a tag is just a named pointer to a commit, which, you know, which is a patch in a sense. In a sense, like if we're being pedantic, no, it's definitely not that. But I think it helps to think of it that way, because like you can still make progress with, you know, with that mindset, if that makes sense.
Very cool. Yeah, patches are very interesting, like primitive. That could be very useful.
I think this is how, like Linux, I think this is how you do contributions to the Linux kernel. It's like email groups patches or something like, yeah, you submit patches. Yeah.
Oh.
And like you can apply this. In fact, we can go over it. Not today. Like we're already at our two hour mark, or almost over, a little bit over. But like we can go over that if that's an interest to you or to others, I suppose.
Yeah, I think something that could be interesting is a combination of a patch with a markdown file. And the way I'm thinking that would work is like it's almost like a PR. So my issue with PRs is there's no linear narrative. Like I just get I'm reviewing someone's PR and I just get like a bunch of like code changes, and I'm like, I don't know if it's alphabetically sorted or what, but it's like hard to get a sense of it. But if you had like a patch file that was augmented with markdown, where the markdown is just comments and it like literally serves no function, it just gets like removed when you're actually applying the patch. But that way you can tell a story around the blocks of code in the patches, and you can reorder them.
Okay, so I can't solve the ordering, but some of this is like just, I have learned that a lot of people don't know how to write good PRs. I have very strong opinions on what a PR is by virtue of the fact that I worked on a lot of them. You can do certain, like, let's go back, for instance. This is a personal project, so like, I mean, my commit messages are okay, but like I don't have any actual comments that tell a story around my code, but you could do that. For instance, let's say, for instance, I want to take this blob of stuff here. I can add comments around this particular thing. You know, in addition to that, I can also point to specific lines of code and have them rendered in my PR body here.
Yeah, that part is really cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, if someone just gives you a PR, like a lot of times it's just like empty and like a commit or two, and like you don't really know anything. But I think that's more a function of the user.
Yeah, sometimes I think I appreciate it when people go through and they point out important parts for me to look at with a comment.
Yes.
So I can kind of direct my attention there. I just wish there was an ordering, like start here, then go here, then go here. That part is a little hard. You can kind of do it with comments, like maybe like bullet points and put like numbers or something, but it just doesn't feel like first class support.
Yeah, you're right. I am a little, I don't know, like I'm a little anal about how I do my commits. So I don't do this thing, like some people, they'll just stage the whole file. I don't believe in that. I stage specific honks or chunks of I think they're technically called honks, but we can call them chunks as well, chunks of a file. And I think they're called partial commits, where like you have a bunch of changes. Do you know about this, or am I saying something that's familiar?
Go on. I don't know if I know about this.
Okay. All right. Let's play around then. So let's first let's open up B copy, I guess.
Okay.
In a code editor, and we're gonna do some lines.
Oh, is this basically not at a file level, but individual code?
Yeah, honk level. The honk level. Yeah.
Okay. I always want to learn more how to do that, so I'd love to see.
Well, the way I do it is using this tool that I pulled. It's kind of dope.
Product placement.
It's free. I mean, you don't have to pay anything. It's pretty dope. All right, so we're gonna add
pretty awesome.
A local repository.
I like that they have dark mode too.
Yeah, it's tied to your system. I think we implemented that years ago, back when that became a thing. All right, let's go to code and devlog farmless git.
Okay.
All right. Now we have this. So you can of course, commit this entire file, or I can deselect all honks. That's what this thing here does. So like what this is doing is it's just selecting all the changes. But there's nothing stopping me from doing this and saying, here are my first changes, I guess. And now notice here that I get in my history. Oh, you saw here, we get some changes. Let's look at my first changes here, and we see only the things that I committed, that I staged. So when I do my work, I believe in like looking at all of my changes, and I will go and say, all right, well, these are all together, and I'll commit that. But I mean, that's up to the user, right? Like that's up to the engineer to say, hey, I understand at the end of the day, like version control is really about communication to another engineer. Yeah. Right? Like sure, it's also a technical problem, but like it's also a social problem. And if people aren't thinking about that part, of course they're not going to, do that.
Very true. I think I also want to give credit to GitHub Desktop for how easy it made that. I think like with the command line, it's not super obvious, but the tooling also helped a lot here. Like it was just with a few clicks, you're able to fine tune and control what you were committing. So that was nice.
I'm glad to hear that. But I will give some credit to the other folks who copied, but like other version control tools do this too.
Yeah.
I don't know which ones other than VS Code, which I think, there's a lot of GitHub and VS Code. And I know GitKraken did it. I know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, GitKraken does it too. But yeah, if you're using Git in that way, where like you're cognizant of the fact that, you know, someone's gonna have to review this, then you can solve your problem. But you're right, the technology doesn't force it. But I would be curious, how could you use technology to force that?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question.
Because I mean, like there's the problem, and then there's the meta problem, which is like the meta problem is what we're really after. But that's more of a social problem at that point.
Yeah, it's like an engineering culture problem and social problem, definitely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just wanted to show that because I was like, maybe that would be helpful. And we have a comment here too, from Mana. He's like, man, I do that too, just specific lines. It's like, yeah, that's honestly the only way I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I see I do it so it's easier to revert commit if needed. Yes, you're right. And I mean, I do that for my PRs, and even within my PRs, sometimes I will just I never like to do rebase. I know some people are into that. I don't like changing my history. If anything, if the history is bad, because not everybody like puts effort into the ordering of their commits, what I'll do is a squash commit. So I'll just take all the changes and just dump it in one commit, because at that point it's like, no, the ordering or the sequence of commits is irrelevant. Anyway, so we can run the git pack objects. I see that you left that here, so let's do that, and we should see that we're going to get some more data over here.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and then also maybe we can do we can find the size of the git folder and see if the pack actually makes anything smaller.
Okay, yeah, let's do that first. So then
does Exa have like some flag that does it, or?
I think it does. Let's see. What is this? Font with Git 192 bytes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
All right. So then we'll go back into font with Git, and then we'll run git pack objects.
Yeah. Let's see if it does anything. Maybe it's too small. Do we need like some flag?
Let's see. Standard out. Options. Wait, no, everything is optional. I don't understand. Oh wait, base name. Is base name, is that optional, or?
Let me Google it. Git objects.
Oh, I also want to add for folks who are interested about like looking at man pages for Git, you have to hyphenate. So let's say, for instance, you're interested in git add. I'm using my tool here to do man, but let's use man for real. So if you want to do like git add, you can't do git and then space add. And if you were to just do man git, you're only gonna get just how to use git. But if you were to do man git add, that will give you the man page for that particular command, right? So if you want to like see how git man git pack objects, you would hyphenate like this. So that's what I'm doing here. So if you notice that I did git dash pack dash object, that's why it's just a tool for visually looking at man pages. All right, actually let's try git repack. It's more higher level. Okay, let me do that first. Repack. All right, so we get enumerating object. We had 8 objects, and it's interesting that, well, I won't get into that right now. It's not that interesting yet. What's
the difference between enumerating and counting? You think it's
enumerating? Like enumeration is when you touch each thing, you're actually going through a list of things.
Okay.
So counting, yes, you're technically doing that, but counting, you're after a result. Whereas enumerating is more about you're going to that thing and doing something with it.
Okay.
And iteration is kind of similar too. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, as we can notice now on the right hand side, we have in that pack directory actually some objects now. We have like an index file and a pack file. Before we didn't have anything.
I want you to notice this here. Why do you think that we only compressed 4 objects and not 8?
Probably because we only had not all the objects are blobs, right? Like
Exactly.
some of them are
yeah,
trees.
that was it. It's like we only want to compress
Okay.
our blobs. We don't compress trees or commits because at the end of the day, there's not much information to compress. We're just
Yeah.
going. We only compress blobs, and then we write. All right, so let's go back and see. We were at 192. I don't think it did anything.
Okay. Also, I don't know if it removes the previous objects after it does the pack. I'm not really sure.
I think it does. I think there's another command that you could do to do that, but I don't think it does it by default.
Got it. Like, yeah, maybe there's a way to clean up once you do the pack.
Is there like a git garbage GC or something like that?
You might be right.
I forget.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry. It's been years for me. I don't remember a lot of the.
Yeah, Git GC is the one. Yep.
Oh, it's
you have
git
good
GC.
memory.
Okay, so then let's try that. We'll do formless git and then git GC. All right, and does that do anything? Yes, there we are. So that removes everything, and now we only have the pack files.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. That's pretty cool. It's so cool to see that like happen, you know. And what's that? There's only one object file. Is that the commit file, the e69de?
E69 de. Actually, let's see. I think we we
My guess is that would be that initial commit file. Oh, the hash changed. I guess we can do cat file -p and then E69.
E69de.
What? Nothing in there.
Could that be? Remember when I added a initially and it was empty?
Yeah, maybe. So I'm guessing that's a blob file. So like if we do get -t, then it should say blob.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that one. I guess it's hard to compress an empty file. I don't know.
I don't think it's possible actually. Like just knowing how compression works. I'm not sure if this is using Huffman coding, but like I'm going to assume that it probably is, or something similar that's based on it. And if you have no characters, you can't build your table of codes to then perform the coding, the compression.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
Yeah, this is pretty cool. It was cool to see all those other extraneous objects disappear. And I guess what's the file size? What's the repo size now?
Okay, let's see.
It's not. We're dealing with text files, so I don't anticipate a huge.
Yeah, and we
change.
also only had a couple characters. We don't have enough data for compression to really do anything.
Yeah,
we're still
so,
at 192. Yeah. So what it seems like we may have done. So I will add that if a file size is if certain files won't shrink because compression still has overhead. So the power is in the fact that like if you have a lot of stuff, like that overhead, like it's not bigger than what you're saving.
Yes.
But in this case, like one of our files had the content hello, another one had the word content.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much you can do other than like hello. There's 2 L's in there, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah.
Like our repo is so like exaggeratedly simple that we're not going to see the benefits here. But it's as you start to get to like mid-sized repos, then you really see the benefits.
Well, how about that? We have one of those actually. Let's go to desktop actually. And why did that? Okay. All right. So this is the desktop org, and this is the desktop repo. Let's stop this, and we'll go back out to. Yeah, we'll go back to here, and we'll go into desktop. All right, and we'll rerun that command, which is not in my history anymore. So I guess we'll do this. I guess it's the same session, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
All right, so we get a lot more stuff. Unfortunately, I can't.
Maybe cd into the .git folder and then
I
run
think
it.
you're right. Yeah. cd.git. Okay. I thought we deleted. What the fuck? Okay, I guess.
The hooks, that was in the other repo.
Yeah, no, I meant like, I'm talking about like we as in the GitHub team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was one point when I I did do like pre-commit hooks, but like there were strong opinions against this. So I was like, all right, I won't have it. All right, so we're going to remove anything that's inside of the Git directory that's called hooks. And yeah, cool.
Boom.
So it turns out, and this is a GitHub thing, whenever you clone a repo from GitHub, it's not going to just give you all objects. They are packed. So unfortunately, I can't show, like I was going to try to do the thing to see, but
right.
Okay. So I won't get to show it here, unfortunately, because of reasons. So sorry.
Is there an unpack command?
Yeah, unpack objects.
Interesting. I think that's a low level command. Like you have to point it to the archive. I don't know.
Yeah, the .pack. Yeah, so we can do that. So we'll do git unpack, and then we give it git the objects pack pack, that one maybe.
Yeah.
Git unpack is not a command. So wait, what? How do you spell it?
Oh, really?
Objects.
Unpack objects.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so unpack objects. Okay, I need to do one of the options. Sorry, which one? Dry run, the command usually.
Oh, it does it from the standard input. So you'll have to like do echo and pipe it in or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how about this? We can do that for another time.
Yeah,
Another
I think
time.
we should save something for later.
Yes. Also,
we learned a lot today. This was really cool.
Well, I think, and I would encourage you to do this. Go back and rewatch just the part, like the conversation, and you may start to be like, oh wow, like you may come up with other things and ideas, and like just like, oh, or you may notice something where it's like, oh, that's why whatever worked or didn't work. Before we start to, I guess, wrap it up, let me pull up more comments. We got a couple. All right, so man, there's one GitHub feature I love to have. We use Git flow approach. I hate Git flow. We squash only our feature branches. Damn, GitHub only remembers the last merge method. Wish we could have auto suggest squash for branches starting with a feature or whatever. I don't know why it does that. A feature or whatever. Like make your own rules unless it's possible already. We'll squash our feature branches. So this is the problem with like this being so general, is that like you can branch however you like. And at GitHub we didn't have this a concept of feature branches. It's just like we have like it's just a branch. Like everything's just a branch. We don't have this idea of the Git flow. In fact, we are very much anti Git flow. We have our own flow at GitHub. It's called GitHub flow actually. So if you use GitHub flow, then you wouldn't have any of these issues. I think there was a graphic of it. Yeah, here we are. Oh, this isn't it. I remember we had like an actual graphic on one of our training sites, but maybe I don't know.
I think I see it somewhere.
You saw it?
Is it? I just posted it in Twitch.
Okay, thank you. Oh, well, you can't. You had. Can you share it in our Zoom?
Okay.
Yeah, people aren't allowed to share links in my Twitch.
Oh, okay.
Yes, appreciate it. All right.
Is it at the top of that page?
Wait, hold on. Wait, what?
Just continue without supporting. At the bottom, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
Is that it? The master branch? I'm having a hard time understanding that graphic, but
let me see. So we have our master branch,
and then feature branches.
We have merge feature branch into master branch, create feature branch, commit. Yeah, basically. Except, I mean, sure, you can call them feature branches, but we just call them branches. When I think of Git flow, I think of like they do the naming where it's like feature, feed, or whatever, or bug or fix. I don't know. It's confusing to me.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you see it. Like that's so complicated. Hotfix, release, develop.
Yeah. That's yeah. So we just branched off of the main branch, did our work, and then merged back in. And yeah, there used to be like a GitHub education thing on that education Git flow. Maybe I may have to look through my archives. I don't want to do that here, but I also have some of the resources.
Merges were the bane of my existence. Like, especially with Git flow, you'd have these like long running feature branches. And then when it came time to like merge it in, it was so tedious.
Yes. Which is, that's one of those things where, it's sometimes the workflow that you choose to use will dramatically affect, your work and how much fun you have doing it, I suppose. I am very much, all of my projects, and this is probably because I'm very biased. Remember, I didn't really use Git much until I worked at GitHub. So when I learned how to use Git and GitHub, I used it the GitHub way, which is very different from how most other people use it. In fact, everyone at GitHub used GitHub, and I mean that literally. Marketing, lawyers, our accounting team, operations, engineering, like data science, like we all use GitHub for literally everything, even for procurement of devices. Like if I needed I don't know, like a new mouse or something. All right, we had a repo for that, and you create an issue for that. And we had a lot of automations integrated with Slack to like just handle that. So it's like we use GitHub in ways that most people are like, oh, I thought GitHub is for code. It's like, no, it's document management, because it's version control, which that's what you're versioning: words, documents, text. And if you're using
so you'd have to like submit a PR if you wanted like a new mouse or a new keyboard or something.
No, I didn't have to submit a PR. We submitted an issue.
Oh, an issue.
Yeah,
right.
just
so
an
you
issue,
use the project management part of GitHub.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. And I mean, unless there's like a ledger that you need to keep track of, there's no need to do a PR for certain repos. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to find the graphic here, but one existed at one point in my life. And yeah, I don't know where it is now.
For GitHub flow?
Yeah, for GitHub flow, which is the flow that I like. If we ever did a project together, like I may not be able to articulate it in words right now, but like you would very quickly get GitHub flow, because that's how I work. Where it's just like, branch early and often, merge early and often. Doesn't matter if the work isn't done. And that's something that I learned, where it's just like the goal is to get the code into the project. Like it doesn't have to be used. It just needs to be in the project. And if it continues to build, then that means that, that's honestly what continuous integration is for. Like you put this code in, it didn't break anything. It's not being used. So now that
it could be behind the feature flag or something.
Exactly.
You don't have to use it right away.
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the things that we did later on, like we developed more processes later, like as the project matured. But whenever we do a new feature, the first commit would be, we'll go and create a branch and we'll just add a feature flag. And then, that's the PR.
Nice.
And then we do some other stuff, and that's the PR. We just
that's how we did things at Meta too. It's like you wouldn't have these long running branches off of your code. You just get it in the master as quick as possible, hide it behind, we used to call it gatekeeper. So like you'd hide it behind a feature flag essentially. And yeah, as long as your tests are passing it, then it's like fine, it's not breaking anything, like we were saying.
Right. To me, that is what continuous integration is.
Yes.
Sometimes I see other organizations, they're like, they want the whole thing, and I'm just like, when you're at that point, like it's really hard to course correct, because now it's a much larger surface area of changes. And because you haven't been slowly integrating these things over time, like it could all just blow up in your face. And now you're having to figure out a lot of things, versus if you just had a lot of smaller PRs, you figure out those issues early and often. So when you get to the big thing, turning it on, it's like you have a lot of confidence that it works. But of course, this is workflow, which is also, it goes back to social, which is like it begs that question: how do we use technology to solve for that? Which I don't know if it's possible, but I'm cynical. Like that's me. I've become cynical in my life as I've gotten older, where it's just like, I don't know if we can solve people problems with technology like that.
Yeah, I think not every problem. There's probably some ways it helps, but yeah, definitely not. It's not a panacea. I hear you on that.
Well, we did. I think we accomplished a lot of things. We got a nice little diagram going. Is it worth making this diagram public yet, or should we keep it and then like we can keep going, and maybe that's I don't know, maybe you could add it to your 20 hours thing. Like this is part of your notes.
So exactly. One of my goals for the 20-hour thing is to write a blog post as an artifact, and it's going to be like reinventing Git from scratch, from like pain points perspective. So I want to start with the most basic version control there is, which is like file v1, file v2, file v3 underscore final PDF. Like we've all done that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've all started with that. How do you get from there to Git? Like I want to make it so I'm not just throwing a bunch of terminology and like predetermined solutions at people, but like I want people to have a relationship with the solution. Like, why do I need hashes? Why do I need a folder that has all these objects in it? And I want to answer those like basic questions and write a blog post and kind of like use that as my success criteria for my 20 hours.
Okay. I like that. You have a artifact that you can say, here's what I learned, here are my thoughts, and here's like this way to take you from zero to Git, and how, or maybe not all of Git, but like the fundamental problem that Git is solving.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I started with like Linus's first README, because he was addressing the very core pain points they were having. And like you can kind of see why Git came into invention from the beginning. What initial pain points was it solving? It was such a simple code base. Like it wasn't as many lines of code as it is now. It was just like 10 files or something, like 15 files, something very similar, very small, only like 1,000 lines of code. But you can kind of see like the initial underpinnings. And then I think oftentimes we get lost in the complexity, but I want to start from the very core pain points.
Well, what you said ties us nicely to what I was saying earlier about how I think it's more important to just start and put something out there, and you can always iterate to, keep iterating, and Git is a perfect example of that. It didn't start out as what it is today. It started off as something very simple, and over time, like as people are using it, it's like, oh, we have this problem here, we need to solve this. All right, we add some new things, and add 15, 20 years of that happening, you have Git today. And you also have all these other tools that are now built on top and around Git, such as GitHub or GitLab, which, let's be like, even GitHub, there's a lot of things that GitHub does today that it didn't do even when I worked there. And when I was working there were things that GitHub did before I even started working there. And it's easy to, and I noticed it, like, especially with, I guess, younger folks or people who see where I am now, they'll say, hey, like, I wish I could do these things. I'm like I can't do that. It's like, well, you have to keep in mind that I didn't start off where I am. Like it was a progression, right? Like what you're saying is the accumulation of all of my experiences, not just I started at level 10 and I'm like, no, that's not how it works. So I think that this is also like a good life lesson, which is like, things don't start off where they are. So you shouldn't look at them where they are today. You should instead try to think about something a little bit deeper, and like, what problem was it solving? And if you focus on that, which is what I think you were saying earlier, if you focus on the fundamental problem and like the root of the technologies, then you realize that all these newer things, you probably have an innate understanding of it, simply because you learned the fundamental of it versus the thing where we are now. Like I've noticed that some people do that. They'll learn a technology, they won't learn a problem or a solution.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's so easy to get lost in the complexity of the solutions when that fundamental problem, that itch that was being scratched, is something you'll run into again and again. And I also really liked how you tied it back together with continuous integration, putting work out there, like continuing to grow. It's like, get your initial commit out there as quick as possible, because you're going to have more versions coming down the line. So like when you start with a project, you don't have to think of it. We think of being done, we were talking about, but maybe that's not being done. Maybe that's just the initial commit. There's many, many more commits to come.
Right. Well, I think this was a pretty good stream. I hope
This
I hope that
felt
people got
wholesome.
value out of it. I'm like always, like I've said this several times. I'm down to do this, as often as you like, until you get tired of me. so
Likewise.
so, like if you wanna continue doing this, I'm all game. If you want to have a schedule, I can try to do it. I will say, like, I'm very bad when it comes to scheduling anything, but I'm very good about making sure I do things, if that makes sense. Where it's just like, so.
No, I hear you. I'm down to do it too. I could do it like another day. I could do some time tomorrow. I know that's early, but after that I'm gonna be busy a bit, so that's why I'm happy to squeeze some more.
Yeah. We can get it in whenever. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and call today.
Yeah.
I think we've added enough value to the world today. And
for sure.
And yeah, I appreciate you joining. Also, like that blog post, like I would like to edit it if you're okay with that. So like once you're done and you have your draft, like I can edit or make suggestions or whatever, just so you have a second pair of eyes, because I think that's really valuable what you're doing.
100%. Yeah, that'd be super awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and go enjoy the rest of your day. It's what 3 p.m. for you, right?
3 p.m. for me. Very nice, beautiful day outside. I'll probably go for a walk or something.
All right, I think that's a good idea. Go for a walk. I can't go for a walk. It's 100 degrees outside right now. So
oh my God.
I'm going to stay. I'm going to eat. That's what I'm going to do.
Texas, man. Texas. Yeah, I hope you feel better too. Hope a solid recovery for you. And thanks, Mono. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you all. So I will talk to you later, Pratik. Nice having you.
All right. Take care, buddy.
All right,
see ya.
Peace. Okay. So, that was Pratik. As you can see, he's pretty dope. He's pretty awesome. I hope you all enjoyed today's stream. Got some out of the conversation. If you have any questions that, especially for you all who are watching on VOD, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And I will try to get you answers. And if there's something that you have specifically for Pratik, I'll make sure to forward that along to him. Also, they're asking Pratik, loss function. I'm gonna call you loss function since that's what you are here. Do you stream? Are you streaming yet? And if the answer is no, I hope you start soon. I'm happy to join you on your stream as well. If you have a YouTube channel, also let me know what that is so that I can add it to my to the description here so people can follow you on YouTube. And if you don't have a YouTube channel, well, create a YouTube channel. In any case, I think I'm going to call this. I'm starting to become more tired. I'm still recovering, so I'm going to go ahead and call this a day. I appreciate you joining. Please give a like and a subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, please consider subscribing to YouTube and following me there, or just follow me on Twitch. I'm still trying to get to my 256 followers there. But yeah, y'all have a good rest of the day. Peace.